Hey guys, welcome back to the live stream. I apologize that I did not schedule this earlier in the week like I normally do. Rick has been working my butt off this week, and so I totally dropped the ball. So anyway, we are live because I didn't say anything last week about canceling. We are doing the live stream this week. So Minnesota Films, thanks for showing up early, brother. I really appreciate you. For a second there, I was a little worried no one was going to show because I didn't schedule this earlier in the week. So I do appreciate that. So without further ado, it has been a week. This is overdue. Tonight we are going to be drinking one of my personal favorites, which is Monkey Shoulder. In fact, I'll just hold that up there so you can see it. Oh, look at how glorious that looks in that lighting. Oh, it's so pretty. So pretty. So yes, we're absolutely going to drink a little bit tonight. It was a long week with a very big pain in the ass project. Basically, we had an abandoned lot. I say abandoned. It was a lot that belonged to GM back in the day. GM had a tank plant here in Michigan, in the Grand Blanc area, and they had a proving grounds that was a ton of super thick concrete. And when they ripped all of that apart to demolish it after the war, they apparently used this lot as one of their primary dumping grounds for all of the concrete, contaminated soil. Like, there was all sorts of nastiness on this project. So they dumped it all, capped it off, dumped more on it, capped it off, and then dumped more on it and left the top concrete exposed. And then there was a stand of woods that grew up through the concrete. And so our job was to go in there and clear it all out. And, you know, on a job where we didn't have to deal with concrete, Rick probably could have gone in there by himself with his Fecon head, mulched the whole thing in probably a day and a half, and then used his tree shear to get the rest, and then maybe a day pulling stumps done. Instead, it was 6 days. Let's see here. I got to think about this. The first 4 days were me cutting paths for him to get through with the tree shear while I buried all of the concrete and all the shit that was on the lot. And then towards the end of the week, we switched over. We had a bulldozer dropped on site, and it was grading the lot down and trying to rebury some of the stuff that we were digging up while we were grading the lot. So it was a miserable week. It beat the crap out of both of us. It was not a good time by any means. So yeah, that's what I have been doing this week. Camille, hi, welcome to the live stream. That's a new face. Haven't seen you here yet. Whether you've been here and been silent or this is your first time, I appreciate you showing up. Man, Minnesota Films, that's some hours, man. I hear that. That is, with school going on at the same time, that's some serious hours. So anyway, this is long overdue. I'm very excited about this drink tonight. So anyway, what have you guys been up to? Because it has been, like, it's funny because last week we did the live stream, but it's been such a long week, it feels like it's actually been a couple weeks since we did the live stream, because it's one of those weeks that just drug, and it took forever to clear that lot. So every time we would dig a borrow pit to bury some of this garbage, you would dig up more garbage. And so by the time you dug your borrow pit, you were filling it probably half the way in with material that you just pulled out of the hole. And so you were only able to bury, you know, half to a quarter of the pile that you intended to bury. And then you had to go dig another borrow pit, and just, it was over and over and over. You guys will see, you know, it's probably going to be a couple weeks before the footage goes up on the channel, but you guys will see just how much garbage was on this lot. It was an absolutely miserable week. So, AP, what's going on over there in Britain, brother? Good to see you. How's the apprenticeship going? Ryan, University? Ooh, yes, I can imagine. Which Ryan? That is Ryan Garrett that I've been emailing back and forth with. Is that the same Ryan? Hang on, let me check my email. I don't remember. I don't remember for sure. And I don't have it convenient anyway to be able to pull it up. Hang on. Where did it go? Where did that email go? Son of a... I can't pull it up easy. Let me know in the chat, Ryan. Well, thanks, Camille. I do appreciate you hanging out, and I hope I'm saying it right. Is it Camille? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yeah, that's right, Ryan. Okay, we're good. I know what I'm talking... See, I know what I'm talking about. Okay, we're good. No, I don't have a TikTok, man. So I guess I need to finally bite the bullet and actually get a TikTok, because everyone keeps telling me I need a TikTok. I haven't got one, to be honest. So to kind of be straightforward with why I don't have one is because when TikTok first came out, I heard a ton of stuff about how all of your views were actually bots, and it was kind of bolstering the numbers to get more people onto TikTok. But everyone keeps pestering me to get a TikTok, so I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and just get a TikTok here pretty quick. But I don't know, at this point, it's kind of the principle of the thing. Nick, what's going on, man? Hey, I shouted you out in this week's video, so it's going to be a couple weeks before they post up, but I did shout you out because we ran a Case 1150 on the job. It was all Case equipment, but specifically the 1150, and it was a badass machine, Nick, and it's a Case, and it was awesome, Nick. It was awesome. So, but it's good to see you, man. Let's see here. Oh, that's awesome, Camille. So what size excavator are you running, and where are you from? You know, your last name suggests that you might be from Colombia, but that also could just be your last name. So I don't want to sound like an idiot when I ask where you're from, but where are you from and what size excavator are you running? Oh, Brandon. Okay, so what's your favorite kind of pie? So we'll get to that because I want to address the offensiveness that you prefer White Monster. So I say that. I haven't actually tried White Monster. I'm a weirdo. I don't like to I don't like getting out of my nice green Monster habit. I really like the taste of the green Monster. So next time I have a Monster on the job, I will try to remember you. I will try to bring one and drink it. And then I will try to remember to mention it in here next time. So that's a lot to remember. No guarantees that I'll do it. But what kind of pie I like? So I don't even know the official name for this pie, to be honest. My mom made it for me growing up for my birthdays because it's my absolute favorite whenever she made it. And now my wife has carried on the tradition, not transition. It's kind of weird. Excuse me, pardon me. It's like this vanilla cream cheese kind of base, and then it's got cherries, I don't even know how to describe this thing because I am not a cook or a kitchen person. I don't know jack crap about food. If my wife died, I would starve to death or I would just eat McDonald's. But it is this vanilla cheesecake with cherry topping on it, this pie, and it's got a graham cracker crust. And it sounds like really mediocre, but it is phenomenally good. It is just incredibly... When you eat a piece of this pie, you probably shouldn't get up from the table for a half hour because you might fall into a diabetic coma. It's so good. How about you? What is your favorite kind of pie, Brandon? And anyone in the chat, really, what is your favorite kind of pie? We can go full-on pie this evening. So let us know your favorite kind of pie. AP. Oh, I totally understand, man. I'm glad to hear that it's going good. I'm glad to hear you're enjoying yourself, and I totally understand that you're not going to be here long. Fair warning to everyone, I am going to probably wrap this up a little early tonight. I know I say this every week, and we end up going late every week, but it was a super long week. I'm going to try to wrap this one up a little early because I am also exhausted. We'll see how far we go. So, Camille, I'm assuming yes was to the fact that you are from Colombia, which is pretty awesome. Let me know. I don't see a response on what size excavator you run, though. So let me know what kind of excavator you're running. I'm curious. And what kind of work are you doing down there in Colombia? Stacy emailed a while ago about wanting to be a crane operator. My dad can get me into the operator's union, but I think I'm going to send it. Stacy, I don't recall getting an email from you. Did I respond? If you did send it, did I respond to the email? If not, send me the email. And if I didn't respond, it's because it didn't actually come through, and I will go dig through. If you'll tell me when you sent it, I'll go dig through my filtered list because it possibly could have gotten filtered. In which case, I'm very sorry. If we did chat and I totally don't remember, I also apologize. So let me know where I'm at in this. I don't really know how to respond because I feel like an ass right now because I don't remember this conversation at all. But, Dirty Dan, thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it. This is also one of my favorite parts of the week, in all honesty. Like, hanging out here, drinking my scotch, chatting with you guys, it's a good time. So I do appreciate it. Oh, I just missed somebody. Hang on a second here. Carson. What's going on, Carson? Go Union. So, Carson, I will agree with you for the most part. Union has a lot of great benefits. There are politics, which is the only thing I don't really like about the Union, but I will absolutely agree. Pay, you're going to be up there in pay. You're going to be up there with benefits. The only other complaint I have is you don't have control over your retirement. That's getting into a whole different thing. James, what's going on, brother? I appreciate you popping in. I totally understand that you got dinner cooking. I also had a long week, totally understand. But thanks for showing up, man. I appreciate you. And I'm hoping at one point here they open the borders to us filthy Americans so I can come see you up there in the Great North. Nick, I'm telling you right now, that dozer pushes like nobody's business. I've got footage of it. I took a shitload of footage this week because it was a Case 1150. So the 1150 is this weird dozer where it's actually overpowered for what it is. And so out of the entire Case line, that is the most pushing power for the weight of the machine. And it is a beast. Like, you get into a pile and they have a load management system on it, which is kind of like, you can call it traction control. You can't spin the tracks on this thing. I think my entire 2 days of pushing, I spun the tracks maybe 2 or 3 times. Because the load management system kicks in and it actually limits how much the tracks can spin. And it's a weird feeling because this dozer feels like it squats down and gets low and just starts pushing. It's unbelievable how much dirt this thing can push. So it was a badass machine. So I will rant and rave about that. Brandon, peach. So if we're doing pies, see, this is where you get into the whole debate. Are we talking pies or are we talking cobblers? Because peach cobbler with ice cream is one of my favorite desserts in the world. In fact, just peaches, like fresh cut peaches with vanilla bean ice cream. Okay, when you go work on do a 14-hour day in the middle of June in the summer heat, you're exhausted and tired. Come home, cut you up a nice fresh peach, one of the nice juicy fat ones that's dripping because it's so juicy. Cut that up in a bowl. And then put a couple scoops of vanilla bean ice cream over top of that and eat that for dessert. Oh my gosh, is it incredible. It is one of the best freaking desserts. But cobblers, peach cobbler, oh God, it's so good. So we're going like full Fatty McGee tonight apparently. So let's see here. Yeah, Nick, 100%. Yeah. Luckily, I was able to get married off relatively quickly after I left the nest of my parents, and so I haven't had to struggle for food that much. But I can tell you, because I've been married now for, I think we're on year 13 now. Yeah, I think we're 13 years in. I would starve to death if my wife died. Well, first of all, I would get super fat because I would just eat at McDonald's all the time until the bank account ran out, and then I would slowly waste away eating off of my fat reserves, and then ultimately I would die. So yes, it's hard finding food. So anyway, Cabelco Cat, been running equipment for 3 years now without the grading technology. Now I see time. How hard would it be for me to learn? Cabelco Cat, great question. Not hard at all. In all honesty, the hard part is learning how to freehand the machine. If you can freehand the machine, the rest of it's just kind of learning where the buttons are and kind of where the back menus are to change certain settings. Outside of that, it's literally as easy as getting in the machine and assuming the file is loaded in, which a lot of the newer GPS systems actually have instructional videos in the unit guiding you through the process of uploading the file. I mean, it's totally, so many of these units are self-contained now. Outside of that, it's literally just push the button to engage the automatics and off to the races you go. And there's 2 other buttons. You can raise the grade or you can lower the grade. So if you're doing an overcut, or you're raising your grade, or if you're doing an undercut, it's literally a couple button pushes. And you'll have to go into the menus if you want to change how much that variance is every time you hit the button. I mean, it's really straightforward. So honestly, it's absolutely the most difficult part is learning how to freehand. So you're totally good. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm getting behind here, guys. You guys are really. So we started off a little slow tonight, and now you guys are clipping along, and I'm having to go back and catch up. So let's see here. Lightning, Fook Unions. You have to be careful saying that in this neck of the woods where I'm at, but I do have some quarrels with the union. They have their good points, but I do have, this is a complex subject, especially with me being in the position I'm in, where I kind of have to ride the fence here. I will say there are positives and there are negatives to the unions, and I'm not going to go any further just because I don't want to upset anyone. I don't want to ruffle any feathers, and I certainly don't want to close any doors to possibilities of me getting in and getting some union interviews, because that would help a lot of you guys out. So I have to be very careful here, but there are absolutely some positive upsides to the union. There are absolutely some downsides to the union. I will 100% admit that. I agree with both. But yeah, that's my very conservative, very political opinion. So, where are we at now? Komatsu PC200. PC200 is a good hoe. That's a good size. You got a lot of speed. You got some weight behind it. That's a good size, Camille. From BC, now you live in Quebec. Oh, okay. So we've got Nick. Aren't you in Quebec? I'm pretty sure you're in Quebec. I don't remember. You guys are, I know so many of you guys now, and you all live all over the place. I can't keep anybody straight anymore. Ooh, Dirty Day and chocolate pecan pie. I tell you, I'm from Texas. If you can do a good, take the chocolate out of it, if you can do a good pecan pie, holy crap. Like, that's my favorite Thanksgiving time. That's my favorite dessert at Thanksgiving time, is a good pecan pie. But the key there is, it has to be good homemade. Like, none of that store-bought crap where it's like, I don't know, it's so, like, the filling is almost fake because they overdo it. It's, But if you get a good homemade pecan pie, oh god, it's so good. I'm getting hungry now. We should stop talking about this. Oh, boom, I did call it. Nick is in Quebec. Damn, I got it. Nailed it. Let's see here. Septile in the Nord. Camille, did you just go full Scottish on that? I don't understand a word of what you just said. But I'm imagining the, like, redheaded girl from Brave saying it, because I have no idea what that sentence even means. James, thanks for popping in, man. I appreciate it. Dang, Camille, 13, you're running a hoe already? What are the labor laws up there? Sweet Jesus, 13. We can't do that here in the States, I don't believe. Yeah, Ryan, absolutely. It has been a long week when everyone is happy to talk desserts. So, do operators run regular dump trucks? Race. Specify regular dump trucks. So you mean on-road dump trucks? In which case I would say yes, it depends on your employer. So when you're at smaller companies where you have to haul your own equipment, you will absolutely run a regular dump truck. I used to run a drive. That's the kind of week it's been. I'm just totally going to stop being able to talk in the middle of a sentence. I used to run a triaxle dump truck and haul around a tag trailer with my Cat 315 on it, or my D5, depending on what I was doing for the day. So if you are at a smaller company, yes, you absolutely will run regular dump trucks. Generally at larger companies, when you're hired in as a dedicated operator, you're not going to be driving a dump truck. If you are, it's going to be an off-road, like an articulated dump truck, or you're going to be driving like one of the quarry trucks. So it just depends on what you're doing. Yeah, Nick, I 100% agree. So Nick, if you guys aren't following along, was talking about the 750L. I've heard good things about the L series of dozer. There it is again. Can't talk. I've heard good things about the L series of dozers, but I 100% agree. When I was working for Dan's Excavating, they started crossing over into the Deere world, and I think it was the 750 was the first dozer I got on that was a Deere. And it was an absolute dog compared to the D6K I was running. I mean, just not even on the same level. And it was a brand new machine. And I was just like, why on earth would you pay for this machine? It had no balls behind it. It could not push. So what I would do, if you guys watched my slot dozing video from a couple weeks back, That's a technique I use regularly when I'm doing slot dozing, is I will push and loosen up a blade full of material. Sometimes I'll actually do 2 bladefuls of material, and then on my third push, I get into all 3 piles, and I can generally, with a cat dozer or a case dozer, I can push all 3 piles all the way to the end, assuming it's a loose material. But with that 750K, it hit that second pile and just died. I mean, it had no power behind it. So, but like I said, the new ones are getting pretty good reviews. Oh, Carson, 100%. So I was down in Ohio. So Carson was just saying the D6 XEs. Those things are incredible. So I was down in Ohio last week. Not this previous week, but the week before. So 2 weeks ago. And I was filming for Fetchco Excavating out of Medina down there. And one of their operators was running one of the new D6 XEs. Sticky, hard, heavy clay. And that guy was loading that blade like I could not believe. I actually stopped him. He was pushing, and I stopped him and asked him if he had run the T-Series dozers, because I was always really happy with the way the D6Ts pushed. And I asked him, I said, did you run the D6Ts? And he said, yeah. And I said, is there a noticeable difference? And he goes, I wouldn't have said anything had you not asked me, but now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, it absolutely does. It doesn't bog. And from outside, I could tell you that thing was probably pushing, 20 to 30% more material than the D6T did that I was familiar with. I mean, it was just the way he was pushing in that machine. I was like, I wanted to get in it and play. Unfortunately, I didn't have the clout with Fetchco at the time to get in their equipment, but oh my gosh, I want to get in one of those new XEs so bad. That thing was a pushing machine. So yes, 100% agree. Nick, yeah, the Komatsu, I tell you, the thing I really like about the Komatsu is that they put the cooling package in the rear. The visibility on those Komatsus is like nothing else. They're awesome machines. They seem to be balanced pretty well. I don't have a phenomenal amount of seat time. I've probably got, 30 hours or so in one, but I was pretty happy with the Komatsu dozers. They were pushing machines. Ryan, so we have 2 Ryans in here. So just to justify, Ryan Christopher Wagner, thanks for showing up, brother. It's going pretty good. I'm tired. It was a long effing week, but I'm here and I'm having a good time talking about pies and other desserts. So, so AP, are you talking? You've got to be talking. You got to be talking excavators, right? Because I don't know. We were talking dozers for a second. Now you're talking Hitachi, and I didn't even know. I don't think Hitachi makes dozers, do they? Or if they do, I haven't seen them over here in the States at all. Oh, Nick, right. It's French, Canadian French. That's what that is. Us freedom fighters, we don't understand that French talk. Race. So yes, if that answers your question, it just depends on the company you drive for, on whether or not they're going to want you to drive a dump truck. I did actually make a video on if you need a CDL in the industry, and it goes into it, but kind of just a super short, high-level summary. It won't hurt you to get your CDL. I certainly wouldn't go out and pay for it on your own, because so many companies will help you get your CDL. But unless you're working at a smaller company, most likely you won't need a CDL. So Camille and Nick, I think you both speak a little French, or probably a lot of French because you're from Quebec. What a dumb American I am. Huh. But yeah, I don't speak any of that. My wife has family that is from Canada, specifically Quebec, and she does also not. I have a hard time with English. So if that's any indicator of how little French I speak, I struggle with the English language. But yes, she does not speak any French, even though she has family from Quebec. So, Nick, yeah, 100%. The K-Series was terrible. I hated them. 1650, Ryan, that's a good dozer. The 1650 is a good dozer. So I don't wanna get everyone's hopes up and give you false promises, but at the same time, I also can't contain myself because I'm giddy like a schoolgirl. Rick and I went and bid a job. Let's see here, Wednesday. for the guy actually we were doing this lot for this week. He wants to basically build like a half-acre pond, and we did the math. It's going to be like 12,000 yards of material that's got to be moved. So it will be the two of us with my wife possibly driving an off-road haul truck that will do all of that work over the course of 2 weeks. And we will be renting a 2050M dozer if we get this job. We will also be renting a CX 350, which is the equivalent of the Cat 336. So we're going to have a good size hoe. And then we will probably rent like a 25 or 30 ton off-road dump truck. So there is a decent chance we will have some pretty good size equipment coming down the pipeline here around, I think if we do get this job, it'll probably be around June that we start it. So I'm quite excited because I've run the 2050M 2 times and it's been in the yard at the equipment dealership I worked for. So I haven't actually had it in real world working conditions. So I'm pretty jazzed about the possibility. So Irish Wolfhound, thanks for subscribing, man. I really appreciate that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys supporting the channel. You know, I say it every week. If it wasn't for you guys, I would be talking to a camera by myself, and you know, that's just sad that I would be doing that. So you guys make this whole thing possible. Honestly, a lot of the equipment that I bought over the last like month and a half is 100% because of you guys and the views that you're giving me. I've been able to upgrade my drone. I got a gimbal. What else? I bought some other fancy thing and I can't remember now. Oh, my wireless mic system for my cameras. Like, you guys are really allowing me to upgrade gear at a very good rate, and I really appreciate that, which ultimately is going to make for better videos for you guys. So I do appreciate it. Let's see here. Camille, I'm assuming, and this is maybe me just being an arrogant son of a bitch, but I'm assuming that you're saying that I'm an amazing person. And I do appreciate that. In all honesty, I'm just like everybody else. I'm just another operator out there. It's just I enjoy talking to myself in the camera. So you guys get to see what I do as opposed to you guys not filming yourselves. If you guys just filmed yourselves, you'd be just like me. So put that in perspective. But no, I really do appreciate the compliment. I am here, and this is for everyone. I say it every week. Don't hesitate to reach out. There's a reason I post my email. There's a reason I have all of these social media accounts. It's so that I can be accessible to you guys. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I talked to someone Thursday night on my way home from the job. 6:30, I'm driving home, and I'm on the phone with someone that's wanting information on getting into the union. So anyway, I really don't hesitate to reach out. I am here for you guys. That's why I do the channel. So Irish Wolfhound, oh my gosh, someone sent me cash money for the first time. Dude, like, honestly, I'm flattered, man. I appreciate that. So I will absolutely, I've got to remember this week to go out and buy a green Monster, and I will 100% drink that. In fact, maybe next week for the live stream, I can have a Monster in here for it. I really appreciate that, man. I really do. That's the first time anyone's ever sent me some cash. I really appreciate that. So let's see here. Brian MC, because we now have 2 Ryans and a Brian in here. But Brian, dude, that ditch job was a blast. Like, no joke. I had so much fun. That was like zen operating. You get this nasty ditch, and then on the backside you get this beautifully clean ditch. Like, that was an absolute blast. And I will say, keep watching those videos, because towards the end of the week, I absolutely splashed myself with mud, even though I was bragging about the fact that I hadn't done that. I ate my words later in the week, so do stay posted on that one. But that was a fun job. I really had fun on that one. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm falling behind, and now it's been a long week. I'm reading a little slow. Nick, your main language is French. Well, that explains why you drink all them wussy beers. That was an American insult right there. How do you like that one? That was 100%. That was 100% freedom right there. Dig Nation, what's happening, man? I appreciate you coming in, brother. It's good to see you. Camille and Nick, I don't understand this conversation. So we're just going to glean right over it. We're going to go right down to Garrett. Backhoe is the best place. The last place. Okay, Ryan, we were about to have some fighting words there if that was the best place you wanted to be. I 100% agree. Backhoe's terrible. Not a fan. I'm hoping Frank will show up in here again. He was pretty consistent there for a while. But then he's kind of tapered off. But on the backhoe note, if you guys don't follow Digging OK, so OK stands for Oklahoma. He's down in Oklahoma. Frank has his channel, Digging OK. Absolutely go follow that guy if you want to see a mean backhoe operator. Like, he is... I hate backhoes. You guys know I hate backhoes. Frank runs a freaking mean backhoe. He is a fantastic operator, so you should absolutely check on him. Oh, Justin, I appreciate that, but there is more to come, brother. So here we go. I've mentioned it multiple times this past week, so when you actually watch the videos in a couple weeks, it's going to sound redundant. I'm thinking we might have to rename the channel like Let's Dig Also, because I had the ditch cleaning job where we were clearing out trees. This week I've been on a job all week with Rick where we literally went into a stand of woods and knocked over a bunch of trees and mulched them and cleared that. And then on top of that, we are bidding a pond project that we might be doing here in the next couple. No, I take that back. 2 pond projects. So one is a lot clear with a possible pond dig, which is like 100% Chris territory. But the other one is this half-acre pond that we might be doing. So, like, I'm thinking here in the near future, I'll just rename the channel and it'll be like Let's Dig 2, TOO, or Let's Dig Also. Maybe I'll get more views if I start kind of tacking on to Chris's channel. So, let's see here. So, Nick, are you talking about a backhoe? You're starting to like a backhoe a little bit? Because if so, I'm going to judge you even harsher than I already have judged you. You know, first we've got the pink Whitney drink. I mean, that's strike number 1. Then we got the fact that you're over there drinking Heineken, the skunkiest beer on the planet. That's strike number 2. And strike number 3, now you're talking about the backhoe not being that bad. You know, it might be when I finally come up to Canada, we're going to have to throw down. Because... like, that's just, I don't even know who you are anymore. Like, I thought I knew you, Nick, and now I don't know you at all. You're like a total stranger to me. Yeah, Dig Nation. So we actually finally, it's a little bit of sun, and it's also a little bit of wind burn, because we did have some decent weather here this week, but we also had some, storms move through, so the wind was kicked up pretty good. So, yeah, it's a little bit of both. But hopefully we're moving into the summer season finally, even though I'm supposed to get a little dash of snow here on Wednesday. It's not going to stick, but still it burns you a little bit that it's going to snow. But hopefully I'll be getting that tan on here pretty quick. Hey, Alan, I appreciate you showing up, man. So just kind of a little peek behind the scenes because you guys are here and Alan has a channel too. For whatever reason, So I'm still growing, subscribers are still in the positive, but the amount of subscribers has dropped substantially. So we were gaining for a while there, like 120 to 150 subscribers a day. That's dropped back down to like 40. Revenue is starting to fall a little bit, and then views are starting to fall. And my wife and I were talking about it. The only thing we can think is a lot of guys in our trade are going to work, and so not as many people are able to watch during the day. So that's kind of unfortunate, but at the same time, you know, we're still in the grow. We're still in the green on growing, so we're still going to stay positive, and I'm still sticking this out and seeing it through because why quit now? But yeah, everything is good. How about you guys? How is you and your son doing, and are you guys able to get out to any more jobs now that the work season's finally fired up? AP, I'm sorry if you haven't left already. I'm sorry. What am I trying to say? I'm sorry if you've left already. But if you haven't left already, get some sleep, brother. Enjoy work tomorrow. Thanks for coming and hanging out for the short bit that you did. I really do appreciate it. Dirty Dan, who makes the best looking dozer? In all honesty, I'm gonna shock Nick, but I'm gonna say I like Cat. I think those high tracks are just sexy dozers. And I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to say the T series was a sexier dozer than the XE series, just because I like those vertical blade cylinders on the front of those things, kind of like the old R series. Like, they just look like beasts. They're just good looking machines. And then you step up into the bigger dozers, all of them, the Hytrax. I like the Hytrax. They're just a good looking dozer. So, Nick, now those are legitimately fighting words, because I'm fairly confident America is known for just being fat alcoholics. And so we have two factors there. One, we're alcoholics. Two, we're fat. And body fat absorbs the alcohol. Like, we have a built-in buffer that resides right here in the midsection. So you be careful with those words. Ooh, Camille. I bet that was expensive, and I bet that flared some tempers on the job site. I bet there was oil everywhere, and you got an expensive repair bill on your hands. That's no good. Ryan, 210D. Each machine have their size. Oh, so Ryan, you're basically listing off the whole case line. So, the 210D is the equivalent. I'm sorry, I keep bumping this. The 210D is the equivalent of like a Cat 320. So you're on the larger side of the mid-sized hose, but that's still a good-sized machine. In fact, Rick and I were talking about it on this job this week, that going from a 160 to a 210 on paper doesn't really seem like it would be that big of a step up. But once that 210 gets on the job site, like, it's a substantially bigger hoe. That's a good-sized hoe. So, and then as far as your 621G, that is a great loader. I would step it up one more to the 721, because that puts you up there with like the Cat 938. But that's a solid loader. Case puts out a good loader. So, oh, Nick, boy, you're just firing shots right and left, man. Right and left. Man, I'm not even going to address your backhoe comment. I'm just not, because I'm going to tell you, no, I'm not getting into it, Nick. I'm not going to be drawn into your arguments, okay? So just go back to speaking French, and I'm going to continue on with this whole live stream with all these other people that aren't saying hateful things. Carson, so we haven't dialed in the numbers fully. It's probably going to be between 60 and 80 grand for the pond job. It's a legit big job. We're gonna be running 3 pieces of big iron for 2 weeks solid. It's gonna be a good sized job. So, like, cost wise, we're at least 50 grand deep without payroll. Like, with none of us taking cash money out, we're 50 grand deep just in cost. So it's gonna be a big job. Oh yeah, Ryan. So out of the backhoe line, the 580 Super N is the staple of the industry. Like, everyone, you can have die-hard. We did it when I was working at the case dealership. We had die-hard cat guys. They would still come to us for their backhoes, because it is hard to beat the 580 Super N. So, oh, Brian, yeah, we got snow coming, and I'm not happy about it. So, Alan, I hope, man, I really do. Like, at the rate we're growing, which, by the way, I say this every time, I'm a terrible YouTube friend. Let's go look at your subscribers, because I've been so freaking busy, man. I have not been able to keep up with. I feel bad, because you and Andrew, Frank has posted more videos, and I just flat out haven't had time to keep up with everyone. Oh, let's see here. Machinery channel, which, by the way, guys, if you don't follow Alan's channel, Construction Machinery channel, go give him a shout, because he has got some good stuff. He goes and visits job sites around the Chicago area. 1.65, man, you're almost at 2,000. That's awesome, Alan. So yeah, any of you guys that don't subscribe to Alan's channel, I would highly encourage you to go over there and give him a subscription, because he's got good stuff. Irish, no, not at all. Not a dumb question at all. I feel like I do a pretty decent job. This is actually a great question for my wife. At some point, we'll have to have my wife on here to answer these sort of questions. But I actually feel like I do a pretty decent job. I recognized early on when we had our kids that this industry required me to work a crap load of hours, and I wasn't going to be home during the summers. I was literally 6 hours a day. I'm sorry, 6 hours a day. 6 months out of the year, I just wasn't home. And so I made the decision without my wife saying anything that I needed to switch career paths. And so that's when I got out of operating, and that's when I got into equipment sales. And it was specifically for me to be able to spend more time with the family. And it worked. I mean, I was working out of the home office. I would randomly take a half day here and there to go do something with the kids and the wife. And then now that I'm doing what I'm doing now, I do have a week or two at a time where I'll work some crazy hours. Like this was a fluke week. This is not something I do on the regular, where I'm just working long hours for 6 days straight. But that being said, I will then, like, prime example. So I just spent this last week working with Rick, working some crazy hours. Saturday, I actually brought my 4-year-old in, and he spent the entire day in the dozer with me. Because I have the freedom to do that, and no one's going to get upset. No one's going to get angry because Rick knows that I'm going to be productive even with my kid in my lap. And and likewise, they came out Thursday and brought the crew pizza, and both of the boys got to go for rides in the machines. So even though I'm working some crazy hours, I'm still accessible. They still get to see me when I do all of my editing. That's here at the house. And I generally don't go into my office until like 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning to start editing. And generally I wrap up around 4:30. So I'm there for breakfast. I'm there for dinner. Generally I'll stop and eat lunch with the wife and kids if they're home. So a lot of these trips that I take, like when I went to Ohio, the wife and kids actually came with me. So I'll be gone during the day, and then we all come together at night and we'll swim in the hotel pool, or I try to schedule an extra day or so with wherever our destination is, so that we can go do something as a family, whether it's go hike some state parks or go to a children's museum, stuff like that. So family has always been really important to me, and so I do really place value on that, and I try to balance that and try to balance on the side of spending more time with the family. So that might have been a little lengthy answer for what you were asking, but yeah, I think I balance it pretty decent. So let's see here. Yeah, Alan, I'm with you, man. I can't believe it because it's the north, but at the same time, it's like, come on, I'm sick of the snow. Last week, I think Wednesday, we started the morning with a dusting of snow on the ground, and it's like, come on. Nick, I'm gonna counter your argument with you've never been down to Texas and floated the river on a tube, where you realize Texans came up with the beer tube. Like, we have a tube that floats on the river that has a cooler built into it. Like, we invented that so that we could drink more beer on the river. Like, you can't win on this one, man, because we've all got the fat to absorb the alcohol. We're built for it. It's taken generations of being lard asses to build up our tolerance levels to beat you in drinking. Alan, I appreciate that. I really do, sir. CX145, what'd you think of that one, Nick? By the way, that's a good hoe. That's a solid hoe. Steve, I do live in Michigan. I live in the little town of Howell, which is just east of Lansing. Yep, got my directions right on that one. Gonna hate me if I say, ooh, Dirty Dan. That's okay, Dan. I actually am in the same boat. When I was growing up, before I had to run one for a year, the backhoe was also my favorite machine because it had a bucket on the back and it had a bucket on the front. It could do a little bit of everything. And I've gone through this story before, so some people are going to find this, a little redundant. But the reason I hate backhoes at this point, honestly, it's almost a little bit of an ongoing meme, if you will, at this point. The reason I kind of developed a hatred for the backhoe is because when I was at Dan's, I spent a solid 3.5 to 4 months on a backhoe. It was a Cat 420, I believe. And I was on erosion control, which meant I was roading that thing up and down the job site. It was an 11-mile long job site. It bounced the snot out of me because I was on erosion control. I was constantly doing stuff on the side of ditches where you could never get lined up straight. You were always having to put your outriggers in funky positions and then try to get yourself shuffled around without getting stuck. And like everything about that year made me hate the backhoe. So it's not that the machine, and it had wobble sticks instead of pilot controls, so you couldn't be precise, but what they were wanting me to do with the machine was ultra precise, and it was just like, that's why I hate the backhoe. It's not necessarily that the backhoe is just that terrible of a machine, it's really my experience. But at this point, like I said, it's become almost a meme to where I just hate backhoes, and now it's more of a principle of a thing that I have to hate backhoes to kind of keep this public image up. So I've pigeonholed myself into hating backhoes with a passion. Oh, that's cool, Camille. So what are you doing at the machine shop that you also get to go out into the field? Are you just mostly doing maintenance on the machines? Do you work for like a larger company that runs equipment, or how does that work? Dirty Dan, 100%. I'll take a dozer over a backhoe all day long. I love running dozer. In fact, that's what I spent the last 2 days of this week doing, is running the snot out of an 1150M case. And man, that machine pushes. But that being said, with the grading job we were doing, I will be okay having a couple weeks of a break from a dozer. With all the concrete we were tracking over, it beat the snot out of me. My body's just physically tired from being pounded over 2 days. Kubota U35. Yeah, Ryan, stepping up from a Kubota U35 to a 210 is a little bit of a culture shock there, yes. But awesome machine. And what you find, and I'm sure you did, is once you get the pattern figured out, obviously, running the big hose is actually easier than running the small ones. The small ones are super fast and super jerky, and they're not well balanced, versus when you get into the bigger machines, they're a lot slower and smoother, and you got more time to react, and you can be a lot smoother with the controls. At least that's my experience. So yeah, Wayne, 100%. Backhoes are the embodiment of that phrase, a jack of all trades and a master of none. Like, you can put a mid-size to a large CTL on a job site with kind of a mid-size mini excavator. You don't even have to get into a big mini excavator. A mid-size mini excavator. You couple those two together, they will work circles around a backhoe. The only advantage that a backhoe has is you can potentially drive it to the job site if it's close enough, and you do have the ability to run the hoe and the bucket on the front on the same machine, saving you some transportation costs. But when it comes to a production standpoint, you can't even compare. Like, you just can't. And I've got people that I've argued this back and forth with, and I'm just like, get me on a job site, let's do a dig trial, and I will prove to you, I will dig circles around you in a mid-sized mini excavator. And I'll try not to get back on my soapbox about that. I'll try. No promises. Sean, 100%. Those Komatsus with the integrated GPS, those are really solid machines. The only thing I will say about that is if for whatever reason you have a sensor go bad on those integrated machine controls, you have to replace the entire cylinder because they're smart cylinders, and instead of it being like a $3,000 or $4,000 cylinder, it ends up being like a $10,000 cylinder. So that's the only disadvantage to going with that. Now, that being said, I don't know how frequently you've actually got to replace one of those cylinders. I have yet to hear of someone having to do that, but that was always the kind of argument against going that route, was that you increase the cost. The flip argument, which I've always had, is I think you're going to run into the problem of knocking the globes off of your dozer blade and replacing those at $8,000 or $12,000, whatever they are, cost on like a Trimble system. You're going to run into that problem far more frequently than you are having a bad cylinder. So, at the end of the day, I think you're going to have a net positive in favor of the smart cylinders, but I don't know. Time will tell. So, Let's see here. Kubota was upstate New York. We were visited. Case was in Dallas, Texas. Then our first back in Austin area. Dang, Ryan, you're making the rounds, brother. Which, I don't know, you probably... Wait, Ryan. Is this the Ryan that I've been emailing back and forth with that you're now in the Austin area? Tell me, because I can't remember. There's a lot of Ryans floating around now. Dolomed, what's happening, man? Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Nick, so I talked to Rick this week about potential future jobs, getting with the Volvo dealership, which is Alta Equipment here, and seeing if we can't get a Volvo on site, because I do need to get some seat time in a Volvo. So I think we are going to try to line up a Volvo at some point in the future for me to get some seat time in. So, you know, I will withhold my judgments and opinions on the Volvo, because I haven't sat in one. Carson, Unreal is in cheap or Unreal is in expensive? Because I will tell you, we have some things working against us. First of all, we're renting all of our equipment. We don't own equipment that is that big on that scale. So anytime you're going to rent equipment over owning it, yeah, your costs are going to go through the roof. The second thing we have working against us that's costing us so much money is where the material's going. It's not all just going to be able to stay right there in one little location. We've actually got to transport it to a couple different places around the property. And so, you know, anytime you start running an off-road dump truck, those things drink diesel and they are a high maintenance item. So you've really got to make sure in your bid you cover your ass, because you can overnight totally kill your margins just in fuel costs. So we do have a couple factors working against us. So that is why we are pretty high on that job. So there are a couple things working against us there. Oh, by the way, we've also got groundwater. So we're also bidding in dewatering, which is going to cost a little bit because we're going to be running pumps. So yada, yada, yada. So there's multiple factors as to why we're that high. But the biggest one by far and away is the fact that we're having to rent the equipment. So... 150L. Oh, yeah, you got a whole lot of stuff going on, Ryan. Brandon, what other energy drinks do I like? In all honesty, I don't mind Red Bull. I prefer Monster. But Red Bull ain't bad. But I will say Red Bull is very proud of their drink. So Rick drinks Red Bull, and I went to the store the other day to get us both an energy drink, and mine was like, man, how much? I think it was like $2.50 for 14 ounces, and his was 12 ounces and was like $3 something, and it was like, sweet Jesus, Red Bull, calm yourself down. Like, I half expected to flip it over and see a cat emblem on the bottom of the can, in all honesty, because they're proud of it. So, oh, Ryan, 100%. When you step up to, so you got two things working for you stepping up to the 1650. First of all, it's a much bigger dozer, which means it's easier to grade with, which this gets into Nick's statement a little further down about excavators, which I was going to say. Excavators and dozers are the same. Start small because they're more difficult. You'll hone your precision on the smaller machines, and then when you get into the big machines, you go, oh, this is easy as shit, because they respond so much slower. And but with dozers, it's the same way. You extend that track base, and now all of a sudden you're not worried about all the little hoopties you've made, because you kind of ride over top of them. It's a much smoother grading machine. So that's number one you had working for you. Number two is the 750 and the 850 are still on the old pilot controls. So, you know, you're mechanically moving those valves, and it's really tiring on your wrist and your arm. Got a little spit stuck in my throat there. But anyway, as opposed to the 1650, the 1150, 1650, and 2050, those are all EH controls. And so you're just, you barely touch the controls and you got response. So absolutely, it was a bigger dozer and easier to operate for all those factors. So... and Nick, just to kind of reiterate, absolutely, I 100% agree with you. Ryan, possibly. I haven't done any homework on that, so I can't really say yay or nay to it. I will say that overall, an excavator is going to have more breakout force just because its whole hydraulic system is just dedicated to running that arm. So generally speaking, excavators are able to apply significantly more force. You can take a mid-sized mini excavator, and if the boom geometry would allow it from a height standpoint, those small mini excavators have the ability to lift a car. I mean, you don't realize how much force those excavators are able to apply. They are just built for digging, versus a backhoe is, again, kind of a jack of all trades. So, oh, Steve D up in Traverse City, man, we need to come see you. We actually do come see you in your neck of the woods a fair amount. We've actually got a camping trip first week of May scheduled on the Leelanau Peninsula at the very tip up there at the Leelanau State Park. So shoot me an email and let me know where you're at. I'd absolutely hit you up and we'll go have a coffee somewhere together if you want. I'm jealous of where you live. It is gorgeous up there. I'm not jealous of the winters you get, but I am jealous of the scenery. Okay, Ryan. So yeah, so you're the Ryan that I was emailing back and forth. I'm sorry. I have 2 or 3 Ryans in here. So let me know and keep me posted what ends up happening on your job situation, Ryan. Curtis Excavation in Washington State. Welcome to the channel, Curtis. I appreciate you hanging out, man. Let's see here. Nick, try zero swing Volvos. All right, Nick, I'll try your Volvo. I just told you I'd try your Volvo. We have to wait until we get on a job where we can go rent a Volvo. I'm trying, man. I can only work so fast, damn it. I've been sitting in this chair for the past 10 minutes since we made the comment. I haven't had time to go rent a Volvo. Just get off my back. So Brandon, yeah, so I will say this, and I've said it before. Every operator I've ever talked to loves Volvos. They say they're super smooth running machines. They're really great machines. The people who complain about Volvos, and which has always made me nervous about them, are the mechanics. And they all say that they're kind of cheaply built under all of the panels. Excuse me. So you kind of have this dichotomy to where you have operators that love them. You have mechanics that say they're super cheap. Part of me goes, okay, if Chris over there at Let's Dig, running the operation he does, loves the Volvo as much as he does, I don't know how much weight there is to them being cheaply built. So I'll have to sit in one and see. I'm working on it. I promise I will try to do that. So, oh, where are we at? I'm sorry, guys. I keep getting behind here. Carson, we are going 15 feet. So at the bottom of the hole will be 15 feet below grade. So it's gonna be a decent little pond dig, because we've also got to, yeah, I've already gotten into the details. It's gonna be a decent project. It's literally gonna be 2 straight weeks of us balls to the wall hauling material out of that hole. So mine business. Oh, Camille, that's awesome. So you're in the mining industry, which would be freaking sweet. See if they'll let some random YouTube I don't even know what to call myself. Yahoo's a good word. See if they'll let some random YouTube Yahoo come do a mine tour and promote the industry. Because one of the things I do with my channel is I try to show different aspects of different areas of the industry. So, throw in a good word. Bought a Takeuchi TB215R a week ago. Have you heard of that machine? If so... So, Wolfhound, I'm assuming... You know what? Let's look that model up real quick, because I'm assuming that's an excavator you're talking about. But I could be wrong. Let's take a look. Yes, excavator. I honestly, as much as I would love to have an opinion for you, I have not run Takeuchi excavators. Dirt Perfect. Is it Dirt Perfect? Who's out of Missouri, guys? Help me out here. Is it Dirt Perfect? I think it's Dirt Perfect. He was running one that he had on rent, and he really liked it. It was the equivalent to a Cat 308 or a KCX80. So, an 8-ton machine, and he really liked it. So I can't really say anything negative about it. The only thing I'll say towards Takeuchi is Their skids were absolutely phenomenal until the last couple of years, where they slapped the new emissions package on it, and they've been having a crap load of issues with the emissions after treatment. The skid itself is still the same machine. Like, it's an amazing machine, and that's why it's been so painful for me to steer people away from their skid steers. But it all comes down to that emissions after treatment. So assuming they don't have those issues on the excavators, I would say it's probably a pretty solid machine, because Takeuchi makes really good machines. So that's the extent of information I can give you. I'm sorry I can't be more helpful on that one. So let's see here. Work and school. Where's Brandon? See, I don't know. Ryan's responding to Brandon, but I don't know what Brandon asked that, I don't know. Oh, that got me lamped. That's right, Brandon. It is the cat equivalent. You better have your finest dollars, the most crisp dollars in your wallet, ready to buy that Red Bull. And likewise, you better have the nicest and crispest check out of your checkbook ready to purchase a cat excavator. Camille is another Volvo lover. So, again, we got a lot of Volvo lovers in here. I'll get there, guys. I promise. I've talked to Rick. We're going to try to line it up to get me some seat time in a Volvo. Maybe Rick, we'll see if Rick shows up tonight. But if Rick shows up tonight, we will all dogpile on him. And Camille, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. Enjoy your time tomorrow at work. And we'll catch you on the next live stream. But yeah, we will all dogpile on Rick to get him to rent me a Volvo so that I can try it out. Elite. Thank you, Ryan. It's Elite Earthworks, not Dirt Perfect. Elite Earthworks. Thank you. God, that was driving me nuts. So, yeah, Ryan, 100%. Ryans and Bryans are infesting my life right now, and it is really hard to keep you guys all straight. So, if you're in cyber... Oh, Sean, yeah, we had that conversation today. That's what I told Rick. My only fear on this job with how we're bidding it is we have got to have good weather. So that's actually why if we do get the job, that's why we're going to hold off until probably late June, is because in Michigan, that's kind of your safest time to where you're not going to have a lot of rain. It's going to be mostly heat. But yeah, 100%. The only thing I'll say to that is, it's going to be the articulated dump truck. It's going to be 6-wheel drive. We'll run that effer. We're on the live stream. I can't say it. We will run that effer in the rain. And if we got to get the dozer out there to push him through, I mean, we're going to make it happen. So, but yes, it's going to be an expensive job. Yeah, so Carson, that's actually this is awesome that you guys are kind of strategizing with me. So the strategy we've kind of come up with is the first week we're not going to bring the dozer out. It's literally going to be the hoe and the off-road dump. I'm going to be training my wife to run the off-road dump for the first 3 days. I'll just sit in the cab with her, make sure she understands it, and slowly get her faster and faster to put the pedal to the metal, because this whole job hinges on us being able to crank out some production, which Rick and I are both confident we can do. So, but we're going to leave the dozer off-site for the first week to save on rental costs. We're going to be scratching all the topsoil off of the job, and then what we're going to do is basically there's a bowl area that we're going to build the pond from. Directly behind that, there is the bank of the existing pond, which needs some modification. We think we can burn about 1,300 yards there, 1,100 somewhere in there. And so I'm literally just going to bail behind me. And while I'm waiting for the haul truck to make its rounds. The haul truck is going to be making its rounds, and we think it's going to be about a 6 to 7 minute cycle time from getting filled to dump back to getting filled. And so during that time, I can be baling dirt behind me, prepping for the dozer coming. And then there's another area just to the right of the bowl, assuming we're looking at the orientation. Just to the right of the bowl, we're going to fill about 15 feet and almost make a dam. It's not actually going to be a dam, but there's this kind of low valley area that the owner wants to be able to just drive straight across. So we're going to make this big dam looking structure, that's going to have a roadway on top of it. And so again, while I'm waiting for the haul truck to make its rounds for the first week, I'm going to be bailing over to the dam when I run out of space on the bank. So that will be the first week. Then we bring the dozer in the first day or so. The dozer is going to be catching up on piles, which in all honesty is probably going to be about a half day, because that 2050 is going to be able to push some serious dirt. So he's going to catch up on piles, and then it's going to be one of those things where now that the piles are all caught up, I'm going to be bailing over to the dam. I'm going to be bailing behind me. The dozer is going to be pushing away the whole time. The haul truck's going to be making its rounds. And then at the end of the day, the dozer can go over to the dump area and just kind of knock the tops off of all the piles, because we're going to be filling a couple of those dump areas. We're going to be filling like 6 or 7 feet. So it's literally just knock the tops off of the piles so the off-road truck can get up over top of them, and then we'll just repeat the whole cycle. So that is the plan. We'll see what happens. So, yeah, Nick, those, both of us have been on large scale projects before, and that's we've got it all factored in. We've actually been going over fuel consumption charts. I mean, we're getting pretty detailed on this bid. So I'll talk to Rick and see how comfortable he is with me shouting some numbers. But maybe that's something we can do in the next week or so, is get him back on the channel, and we can kind of go through how we did that bid process and kind of work through our numbers and how we arrived at everything. So let me talk to him and see how comfortable he is with all of that. Sean, we talked about it before on this channel, but 100%, as long as the dealership can back it up, it doesn't matter the paint color. So Nick, what can I say? I'm popular with the 13-year-olds. Like, that might get me thrown in jail, but I'm popular, so that counts, right? I don't know. It's a little uncomfortable. It's a little awkward. It is what it is. Anyway, supposed to finish up with the insurance company on our... yeah, Nathan. The story... So, Nathan, guys. Nathan contacted me, what was it, a week ago? Week and a half. They had a nice little skid steer fire. He was doing some brush hogging, and they sprung a hydraulic leak in the engine compartment, and it ended up burning up the entire machine. So he had an unfortunate, and I won't go into the rest of it, Nathan, but he had some unfortunate events happen kind of all in a row. So I'm glad that you're able to laugh about it, brother. I felt bad for you. I really did. I felt bad for you. So I'm glad that there's some humor coming out of the situation. So, yeah, Nick, you're not the elite when it comes to beer. You're not the elite when it comes to liquor, but by God, you're going to drink the elite energy drink. Kyle, John Deere Equipment. Honestly, my true opinion on John Deere is I think they're super proud of their equipment. I think they want to be a Caterpillar, but they don't have the oomph to back it up quite. And I want to be careful how I say this. It's not that they're not decent machines. They do have some decent machines in their lineup. I'm a fan of their skid steers, believe it or not. Like, I got to run one of those a little while back, a couple weeks ago, and I was actually a huge fan, and I didn't think I would be. But I was a big fan of their skid steers. A couple of their larger dozers are actually halfway decent machines. So I don't want to, like, shit on the entire line. But for the prices they command, they do not have the production output to justify that. And so I personally am not Deere's biggest fan. I don't dislike them, but I don't think it's worth the money that they command on their equipment. So let's see here. My experience has been running their kind of, and you guys are going to have to help me out again. I think you guys had to help me with this last week. Whatever their smaller zero swing excavator is, I spent a fair amount of seat time in that machine, and the cab was super cramped. I felt like I was in a coffin. I was not a fan. Digging power was fine, balance was fine, but as far as operator comfort, that cab was so stinking cramped. And then we were talking about earlier in the live stream, the 750K, I believe it was, dozer came to our job site. Did not have any power, Was not a fan of that, but I've heard really good things about the L series. So I do want to kind of withhold judgment there, but I hope that kind of answers your question. I'm not a huge fan. I don't think they're utter garbage. I do think they're overpriced. So let's see. Hitachi 345. The problem is I don't know who carries Hitachi around here in this area, and we've actually got a really good relationship, believe it or not. He does, I should say. I don't have a great relationship with the Case dealer because they fired me, but he's got a great relationship with the Case dealership, and so they're able to hook him up, and believe it or not, their prices on rentals were significantly cheaper than the other guys. And it's not like, oh, it's crappy equipment. It's literally they were like, man, I want to say for the dozer, Cat wanted like $2,300 more for the week. I mean, it was substantially more. So anyway, Irish Wolfhound, I don't blame you a bit. Thanks again for the cash money, man. I do appreciate it, like big time. Really appreciate it. And have a good one, man. I totally don't blame you. 1:30 a.m., dude, that's like 3 hours past my bedtime. Like, I'm out, so totally hear ya. Yeah, Miller, Elite Earthworks, thank you. That was a 2150, and he liked it. I actually asked him specifically about it because I had never ran a TOC excavator, and he really liked it. So Dirty Dan, get into a larger company, starting on a shovel, moving up like a halter. So generally speaking, when you move up from being on the end of a shovel at a larger company, it's going to be so let's go the route of the excavator. If you've got a stockpile of material that you're just loading trucks and it's not any precision grade work, that's generally where they're going to say, hey, go get you some seat time. Or if they just have to move material, because you can, like, it's going to slow the job down for you to load trucks slowly, but at the same time, within a couple hours, you're getting a decent speed. And so most foremen will be comfortable with letting you familiarize yourself with the hoe that way. And that's how you'll start getting seat time. And then as you get it, as you get better at it, you will move up to more complex tasks. On the dozer side, generally, it's going to be if you have a yard that you're stockpiling material and you need to have someone go knock it down so the trucks can get over it. If I were the foreman, that's 100% the job that I would say, hey, you wanted some seat time, go spend an hour and a half knocking those piles down. And you need to be able to get trucks over it. Doesn't need to be perfectly flat, but you need to get trucks over it without them getting stuck. And if it takes you 3 hours, it takes you 3 hours. That's how you learn. And the foreman that I'm familiar with, that's generally the sort of stuff that they would put you on. And then again, as you get more and more efficient, as you get more and more comfortable, they're going to start bumping your tasks up and giving you more complex stuff to do in those. So that's generally how you would progress. Justin, a lot of Deere 345s. Yeah, unfortunately, the honest truth is I don't have a ton of seat time in Deere hose outside of that little 135. Thank you, Nick. As much shit as I give you, you're a good man. The 135G, that's about the only machine that I've really got substantial seat time in from a Deere standpoint. So I really, really can't speak to the Deere equipment. But Nick just said that Deere and Hitachi's are they the same machine, same manufacturer? Sorry, I've got an itch over here and I'm scratching. I probably look really awkward on the camera, but it is what it is. Yeah, Carson, that is the plan. 100% that is the plan. We're going to dig down and slowly form the bowl in the middle and keep the low area in the middle. We're going to have, we're bidding it to have 3-4 inch pumps on site. And you're going to ask why. No one has 6-inch pumps available. They're all rented out for the foreseeable future. So we are bidding it to have 3-4 inch pumps running full time. We're anticipating only needing 2, but we would rather bid it high, be safe. And so that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to dig down, keep our low area where the water will all run to the low area, and we can work on the edges as we need to. So So I'm with you, man. It's my first pond, but I have a YouTube education thanks to Let's Dig 18 on pond building. So I feel quite confident I can knock this sucker out, and we're going to have a fine pond at the end of this project, assuming we get it. So stay posted. Let's see here. Get a larger company. Oh, I already answered that one. Dirty Dan. Man, I'm just getting ahead of myself. 870G. Dang, Carson, that's not a little machine. And it would dig with a 12. Holy. Excuse me. That's how much you took me aback there, Carson. It would keep up with a 12. I'm assuming you're talking about a PC 1250 Komatsu. That's crazy. That's a 870G though. That's a big hoe, man. I'm jealous that you're running equipment on that scale. I really am. That's one thing I have a couple hours of seat time in a 385 and a couple hours in a PC 800. That's the biggest equipment I've ran, and I got very limited seat time. I am jealous of the guys that get to run that every day. So I'm quite jealous, Carson. Yeah, Nick, Cat was the same way with their zero swings until this next gen. These next gen excavators, they've apparently totally redone the cab. If you guys don't follow Taylor over at Ken White Construction, they just bought, what is it, Cat 2, is it a 245? I don't remember the model on it. But that was one of the things he pointed out, was they totally redesigned the cab. Because Cat was the same way. Like, I'm not that tall. I'm 6'1", so taller, but not super tall. And my knees knocked every time I got in and out of that deer cab, and every time getting in and out of that Cat cab. I hate small cabs. It's super claustrophobic. It makes for a very, like, uncomfortable day of operating. Yeah, so Sean, that 100%. So when I worked for the Case dealership, that was our bread and butter, were kind of the smaller contractors, because we would actually give them the time of day. That's actually, it's funny you say that. Rick and I were talking about that just today. We're most likely going to rent all Case equipment, not only because we get a good deal, but also, like, if something happens where we get rained out for 3 or 4 days, out of all the dealerships, Case is going to be the only one that's really going to be willing to work with us on a rental rate before we end up underwater. Versus the big guys, they don't give two craps about a couple guys doing a pond project. They just don't. It's like we're pipsqueaks, we don't matter. And it's sad that it's that way, but it is also very obvious that unless you're dealing with the big dollars, Cat doesn't care about you. Neither does Komatsu, neither does Deere. So yeah. Now, what Case has done a terrible job doing, and this is what I was on them about all the time when I was working for them, is advertise that Case isn't, as Nick so eloquently put last week, can't afford something. I think it was Nick, can't afford something else. Like, that's the industry mentality towards Case. And the crazy thing is, they put out really solid equipment, but they don't market it that way. They still allow themselves to be pigeonholed as the can't afford something else company. So anyway, I 100% agree with what you're saying. Matt, great question. That is a great question. What are your thoughts on heavy equipment simulators? I hate them. I do. If you're just wanting to learn hand movements, they're fine. The problem is a simulator. And I've done a bunch of simulators. I get on a simulator every time I can because I've always been really curious how the technology is developing. You can't simulate digging in real dirt. And those simulators, there's two things. So you can't simulate digging in real dirt, and two, you can't simulate the depth perception of being able to load a truck or not hit something. So I've not only done the equipment, I've done, let's see here, loader simulators, I've done excavator simulators, and I've done crane simulators. Depth perception is one of the biggest faults of that. And I'll speak specifically to when I was in hoisting. I was getting ready to get my CCO, and I was in the crane simulator. In real life, if I'm hanging a load out there, I can tell where I'm at distance-wise. And you can practice, and that is part of practicing, is getting comfortable with knowing where that load is. A simulator, you have no idea. There's no shadows, there's no real depth perception. Same with excavators. You go to load a truck in a simulator and you think you're right over the freaking truck and you dump it 15 feet short. And it's like, you just can't simulate that. And the other thing is, you can't simulate taking a full scoop with an excavator on a simulator. Like, not from and I don't even care about the crappy graphics of the dirt. You know, it is what it is. But there's something totally different about the mechanics of digging in a real excavator in real material versus this simulated garbage. Like, you don't get the feedback in your hands. You don't get the feedback in your seat. You don't feel the resistance of the machine to know when to curl. And because knowing when to curl, when to stick in, and when to boom up, those are all things that you're doing by feel, not by visuals. And those simulators just can't emulate that. So I hate them. I don't think they're effective. Outside of, if you want to learn the hand motions before you go sit in a real machine, okay, yeah, simulators are fine for that. Outside of that, they're worthless. What was your question, Dan? No. Okay, sorry, I found it. No, that's totally fine. So first of all, it hasn't been asked a bunch of times, so I appreciate you asking. Secondly, one of the things I answer almost weekly on this channel is how to get into the industry, even though I have videos on it and it's been asked every week. I don't mind answering questions repeatedly because it just is another opportunity for a new operator to watch this video instead of another video and get that information. Ask away, don't feel bad about it. Okay, Justin, so good information. So Hitachi makes Deere. Okay, well, I'm good with that. Oh, so you've been in a 470, Nick. Ooh, look at you. Look at you jumping in the big seats. Yeah, so Sean confirmed too. So yeah, that's kind of the same thing as, let's see here. Who was making... Dude, I had a total brain fart just now. Who was making case for a long time? I know they're made by Sumitomo now. I know someone's going to say it, but I know that. But who made case for a long time? They were rebadged and repainted. God dang it. Help me, guys. It's not going to come. It's not. It's been too long of a week. It's time to top off. It's time to top off after that. Yes, a good healthy pour. Yeah, that's going to help me remember. Yeah, Nick, 100%, dude. When I got in that 385, I was like a child in a sandbox, except I was loading concrete into steel box gravel trains. And I just barely caught one of the teeth with the on the side of the box of the truck. And that's when I realized how powerful that machine was, because I didn't even feel it in the excavator. And that whole truck lifted up it was his rearmost trailer, so I didn't affect the driver at all. That whole trailer lifted up on one side. And I was like, okay, I need to have a little bit of respect for this machine. But it was awesome, dude. When you reached out in that 385, you needed a freaking set of binoculars to be able to see what you were doing. I could not believe how far away from the machine that bucket got by the end of it. Because it wasn't a long stick, but it wasn't a mass excavator setup. It was for doing sewer work. So like that, so I don't even remember what the reach was on it. The 385 was insane. It was amazing. So yeah, Dustin, you got it. That's dealership support as always. You gotta have parts on hand. You've gotta have mechanics that are readily available. That's all part of it. And that's again why CAT is exceptional at what they do, and it's why they command the prices that they do, is because they got the support behind their equipment. Yeah, Nick, 100%. If you don't run the volume, if you're not buying millions of dollars of equipment, they don't care about you. Like, you're just, you're one of those guys that they have to deal with because it's the right thing to do, not because they care. Those Isuzu I can't talk, I'm sorry. Those Isuzu motors are pretty solid motors. I think that's what, if I remember right, that's what Kobelco runs, is Isuzu. I could be wrong, but I think that's what they run. And they were solid motors. Hey, there you go, Carson. Good for you, man. That's what the industry needs. Like, really needs. Like, I'm gonna try not to get on a soapbox here, but that's really one of my big problems with the industry is there are so many old school operators that just kind of have this mentality that you're gonna have to just put in your time and I'm gonna give you shit. You're gonna have to earn everything the hard way. Instead of welcoming new operators, helping new operators, coaching new operators, they make their life that much more miserable. Why do you think this is a dying industry? Why do you think we're struggling so hard to get operators into this industry? It's because of that mentality right there. So, like, Carson, pat on the back, kudos. I would shake your hand if I could. Like, that is awesome that you're willing to do that and give up your seat and coach that guy. Like, that's what I love to hear. Besides that, you got to run a D9, dude. I'm jealous. The biggest dozer I've ever been in was a D7E, and it was a piece of crap. I'm upset that I even ran the machine. I'm dying to get in a D9 or bigger. I want to run one of those big dozers. At some point, it's a bucket list item. I've got my track loader. That's number 1 on my bucket list. Number 2 is like ideally a D11. I'll accept a D9 or a D10, but I want to run a D11 at some point, and I'm hoping YouTube will help me do that. We will see. So, all right. Back to the comments here. Link belt. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. You are 100% correct. Link belt. Jesus. That's why I'm drinking alcohol. I gave up on remembering. What are your thoughts, Shand? What are your thoughts on going pipeline if it comes back upstream again? So, pipeline work, in all honesty, you're going to travel, so it's totally up to you. If you like the travel, if you like the idea of going around the country, living out of a camper, there's 100%, it's a great industry when it does come back. Right now, it's pretty slow, and it's going to be cyclical, but yeah, I would absolutely say pipelining is a great industry. You see some really unique parts of the country. You work with some really unique characters. Let me put it this way. If I didn't have the family when I got into this industry, I 100% would have gone into pipeline work. And then to answer your second part of your question, transportation deal, I don't know. I haven't done a ton of reading on it. I don't know exactly. Ooh, excuse me, guys. That was so rude. I apologize. I honestly have not, between work and the kids, I have not been keeping up on the news. I haven't done any reading on the transportation deal. But I will say anything transportation related that gets passed will only be a positive for our industry. I do know that, especially in the U.S., our infrastructure needs some serious overhaulage. It's got to happen. It's not really optional. So yeah, I would think overall it's going to have a pretty positive impact on the industry, but I can't speak to that because I haven't read about it. So I'll try to do some homework on that. Matt Kobelco partnered up with you are correct on that, but they only partnered up on the smaller machines like the mini excavators. I don't think it was the full-size machines that Kobelco was making, but you are 100% correct. Kobelco also had a deal, but Link Belt was who I was trying to think of that I couldn't remember. Volvo makes SDLG. No kidding. Huh. The things you learn on a live chat or a live stream at 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening. Volvo makes SLDG or SDLG. Huh, that's interesting. Oh, Nick, dude, there is something magical about running a new machine. The 1150 they delivered this week to this like shithole of a job site we were working on with trees everywhere and concrete chunks and rebar it had, I think, 7 hours on the clock when I got in it initially in the morning. Like, it was brand new, literally plastic on the seat. Rick ripped the plastic off of the seat. It was from the factory. And then within 3 hours of me running it, I had a piece of rebar fly up. Like, it was buried under the dirt, blade went over it and the track hit it just right. It flew up. I am shocked it did not shatter my window. Like, it slammed. It scared the shit out of me. I am shocked. I told Rick, I was like, dude, we came so close to paying for a window on this dozer. So, yeah, pucker factor is high running a brand new machine. So, yeah. Let's see. Don't think Volvo. Next video I never seen. I'll have to go watch Dirt Monkey's video now. Now you got me intrigued on that one. Dude, you gotta be careful with sales guys. You can either get legit sales guys or you get the really, really sketchy ones. And unfortunately, this industry is filled with the really, really sketchy ones that don't tell you the truth. And that's unfortunate. Dirty Dan, good question. What's the most stuck I've ever been and how did I get out? So I don't have like a magical, like Let's Dig's recovery. I've never been in a situation like that because I take pride in the fact that I am intelligent and I know when to stop. Two situations come to mind. The first one is this guy right here on the stream. I'm going to flip over to the stream countdown. Don't panic. I'm coming right back. I'm just going to show you the picture. I'm just kidding. That wasn't it. Maybe it's... Oh, no. I remember what it is. It's the live stream. Like, it's the picture for the live stream. That's what it is. It's that quarry truck that I had stuck. And basically, we were doing approaches for an overpass, and I needed to cross over to the other side. There was no indication that it was soft out there in the middle at all. It was dry. This was down in Texas. And I went to go cross over it, and next thing I know, I'm sinking and axle deep. Like, I didn't spin the wheels on that one to bury it. It literally just sank. But you also have to remember that truck was carrying 40 to 45 tons worth of material. Like, that wasn't even the weight of the truck and the material. It was carrying 40 tons. So that one we had a 988 loader on the job. He came down and was able to push me right out. The other time I've been almost that stuck was in the same truck on the same job, just a different area of the job. We were crossing a low area, and I was actually building out a new part of the haul road and hit a soft spot. And I don't think I've ever leaned so hard in a truck before. I actually had part of the load spill out over the side that I could see out of my window. I was leaning so hard. I thought for sure we were going to roll the truck. We had a D9 on site, and he came and pushed me out. And somehow we did not roll the truck, so that was pretty magical. But those are about the only two circumstances, but I have never worked myself into a pit to the point that it has been, emergency recovery mode. I have always taken pride in the fact that when I'm stuck, I'll try a couple times in a safe way to get out, that I'm not going to bury the vehicle I'm in or the piece of equipment, and then if I can't get out, I just make a call. That's the smart way to do it. So, let's see here. Dustin, so I went and filmed for Fetchco down in Medina, Ohio 2 weeks ago. They had, I think, 3 or 4 next-gen hose out there. I talked to every operator, and every single one of those operators absolutely sang praise about the next-gen models. I really wish Cat would recognize me and let me come run some of their stuff up at the dealership. I haven't had that. I don't have that clout yet. But I will say, 100% I am looking forward to getting in one of those next-gen hose because everyone rants and raves about them. Sorry, again, I can't talk. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Getting caught up, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, so Nick, I have to be careful because I am also a YouTuber. But I will say that the Dirt Monkey guy, all of his stuff to me is a little campy, going for the views, which it's clearly working. I shouldn't be dogging it because it's clearly working. He's got way more views than I can ever hope to get, but it's a little schlocky to me. Let's see here. Oh, Camille, left and back. Welcome back. Appreciate it. Nick, I would like to run one of the big loaders. 988 would be a blast. I thought about asking when I was down in Texas working for Ranger. I thought about asking getting in one of those, but I had no seat time, no experience. There was no way I was going to get in one, so I didn't. Ryan, 100%. So that is 100% true in the equipment world. Even though they're made by the same company, that does not mean it's the same quality. It doesn't mean it's the same components. It doesn't mean it's going to perform the same. So, absolutely. Great point. So, Kyle, yes. I will say I was super nervous when I was going to go down to Kentucky. I did go down to Kentucky. If you haven't watched that video, I went to Kentucky, and it didn't go well. But that's what I was nervous about, is the foot controls and the V pattern. Like, thinking about that without actually being in the seat, that just messes with my mind. And I was worried about learning the controls. But that being said, a lot of the new ones, all of the ones that Fetchco was running, were all the hydrostat, and they run just like a track loader, like a CTL. So I'm not super worried about that. I could jump right in one of those and I could go to town, because you've got the controls of a compact track loader, but you've got the great ability of a large loader. I feel like within 15-20 minutes I'd be pretty proficient on one of those machines. So Shand, don't rub it in, man. Come on. I want to run a D9 or a D10 so bad. Don't rub it in. Although I don't want to work in a landfill. I'm sorry. Shand, I appreciate you as a subscriber. I do. But you probably smell bad because you work at a landfill and you can't get that stuff out of your clothes. I know. You probably smell. I'm sorry. I love you. I do. But I don't want to work in a landfill. Camille, I did. I absolutely loved the Doosan. So I had two big complaints. The most material one to operating was the fact that it needed more counterweight. So we had it equipped with a quick coupler and a thumb. And the thumb was actually small, in my opinion. It probably could have used a little bit larger thumb, which would have been even more weight, which would have thrown it even more out of balance. But it needed more counterweight. So what I told Taylor was, at some point get some 1-inch plate steel, cut out the counterweight pattern and slap that baby on the bottom of it, and you probably have a pretty well balanced machine. And it would be, from a digging standpoint, it was amazing. It had great power. The ergonomics of the controls were fantastic. The biggest compliment I can give it was fast as crap. If you watch my videos as they come out, I overswing my dig area all the time because that machine was so freaking fast. So I loved digging with that machine, with the exception of the counterweight. The second complaint I have about the Doosan is much more minor, and it's the location of the radio. Like, the radio is back behind you at your ass level, and so you have to fold yourself down and contort yourself in order to change the radio station and be able to see what you're doing. That's irritating as hell. I did not like that. Outside of that, I loved the machine. It was a great machine. So Dirty Dan, I don't know if you're referencing me or someone else with this dude. I'm going to assume you're referencing this dude as the guy that made the comment, which was it Carson? Yes, Carson. We do need more Carsons in the industry. Absolutely. People need to teach instead of just being assholes. For lack of a better term, you're just being an asshole. So. Oh yeah, if you were just loading haul trucks, Nick, man, you can bang the shit out of the side of one of those trucks and no one cares. They're all beat to pieces anyway. So, Nathan. It's Nathan, right? God dang it. Cox Landscaping, it's Nathan. It's got to be late. I remember right. Yes. It is Nathan. I remembered. Nathan, if you're going to look at case, go with the B series. Don't go with the Alpha series. The B series, I'm hearing nothing but praise from not only the people within the case community, but also from the operators themselves. New Holland, they're okay. They're made by Case. I know, same factory, blah, 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 blah. I've never been a huge fan of New Holland machines. They aren't on the same bar as Case. The John Deere 333, I can tell you right now, I don't know about a D series. I can't attest to the D, but I ran Taylor's 333G, and dude, that thing was a tank. I was a huge fan of that 333G. And then Kubota makes a great skid. I'm not going to say anything negative towards those machines. They make a great skid. So whatever you guys decide, 100%, Kubota makes a great machine. Let's see here. Running a Cat 385C, pulling 60-inch RCP, 20-foot deep, solid rock. Had an 8-yard bucket, was awesome. Oh, Sean, yeah, you're talking. Yeah, that's a serious, like, 20-foot deep. That's a man's game right there. And I don't mean to sound like that sounded terrible. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. That's serious digging there. Like 20-foot deep, stacked trench boxes, no room. Like, that's a legit dig. And doing storm train, yeah, that's a legit dig going on there. I never got the opportunity to get that technical with it. I was loading out chunks of concrete. So I got to be brutally rough with the machine, and the truck drivers were already expecting to get it pounded to oblivion. So it wasn't that big of a deal for me, but that would have been a lot of fun to run, digging mainline, assuming you were out in the open and you didn't have to worry about overhead obstructions or any of the bull crap you do on a sewer crew. So Dirty Dan, 100%. Like, my goal in life is to be Scott. I would love to be Scott and just get to run around and operate all this cool, awesome, like, mega iron. Like, running a PC 1250, that's another bucket list item. Would love to run one of those machines. Maybe one day I will aspire to be Scott over there at Pushy 6. We'll get there. Nick, most of what that guy does over there, like, I just kind of go, I would have approached that 100% different, and I think I would have been more efficient. But again, like I said, it's like the schlockiness is just, if you look at his channel, it's almost the Discovery channel of YouTube. Like, Discovery totally sold out years ago. They used to have really legit programs, and then they sold out, and now it's all of this, like, garbage reality television. And I feel like that's kind of what Dirt Monkey's done with his channel, is it's kind of reality where, yeah, he does legit jobs, but he goes about it in an approach that's going to be the most drama raising, the most like, we're going to have a problem that we need to have an issue with, and we almost got pulled over by the cops. And it's like, anyway, you guys know my style. I'm totally like, this is reality. This is what it is. It's not fancy. It's not like, I don't add a bunch of drama in. You just get what it is. So that's totally not my style whatsoever. But everybody's got their own audience. That's the beauty of YouTube. Everyone's got their own audience. So, and I will not fault the guy. He's getting views like crazy. So he's doing something right. Let's see here. So Ryan, if you're going to dig some trenches for sewer lines, the first thing I'm going to say is you're probably going to be going deep, so make sure you're doing it safe. Whether that means benching it for your guys, or if you're deep enough using your trench boxes, make sure you are being safe. Safety when you're going deep is 100% the most important thing. When it comes to staying on grade, the beauty of, generally speaking, the beauty of running sewer pipe is if you're within a 1/10 or 2/10, you're generally pretty good, because what you're going to do is you're going to backfill with your stone to bed the pipe. Your pipe layer is going to spread that stone and keep it on grade. Then you're going to set your pipe in the trench. Like, the degree of accuracy you're working with when you're doing storm and sewer is not nearly as precise as what it is when you're working on smaller machines doing like basement work and stuff like that. So 100% I would say just be safe, be very, very, very aware of where your people are, overhead obstructions, and anything in the ground, because those are all going to come into play when you start digging sewer pipe. So that's my biggest piece of advice. I'm just giving you crap, Shand. I know you don't smell. Maybe. Probably. Maybe. No, in all honesty, you guys have the benefit of, for the most part, you guys run what, HEPA filters on those machines? So for the most part, you guys are actually in a pretty decent, unless you break down in the middle of the trash heap, you stay decently clean. I feel bad for your mechanics though. We had a mechanic at my dealership that came from the landfill industry, and as you know, nothing ever breaks down over in the garage. It always breaks down right in the middle of the trash heap. And that guy had to march out in, knee to thigh deep trash to go work on a machine. And he'd spend an hour shoveling dirty diapers out of the tracks before he could access the freaking plates on the dozer. So, yeah. Camille, what's my next job? I'm not quite sure. There's a couple possibilities. There's one up in the Thumb here in Michigan that we might be doing. That's a land clearing job, and we might be digging a pond. If we do that, that would probably be in the next 4-ish weeks. There's a possibility I might go back to Ohio and work with Taylor again here in the next month. He's got another project he wants me to work with him on. And then if you guys are familiar with Carson Shifsky, he's got a channel. I went and worked with him for a couple days last year. He's actually wanting to have me back out to Minnesota, so there's a possibility I might go back out there. So there's actually quite a few projects that are pretty close on the horizon. Rick also has, I'm trying not to get on this job because I don't want to do it, but Rick has a retaining wall project that he needs some help on. It should be like a 1 or 2 day job where we're setting some boulders and then backfilling behind them. Should be pretty straightforward. I hate residential work, so I'm trying to get out of it, but at the same time, we're friends, so I can't leave him high and dry. So I don't know yet. We will see. Ask me in another week or two, and I'll probably have a better picture of what my work schedule looks like. So Nick, dude, it's that's right. I'm a sexist freedom soldier. That's right. You're goddamn right. I'm Merkin. No, going to your comment though, it is amazing when you take pride in your work and you do a good job in this industry. It's amazing how quickly you pick up tricks and techniques and you start honing that craft. So Nick, that 100% you can absolutely pass down knowledge even though you're still green to the industry. That's part of it. It's you just, when you care about what you do, you learn at a much faster rate than those guys that are just like, oh, I'm here to pull sticks. So yeah, I 100% believe that you were able to train someone even though you're still pretty green in the industry. Connor, I will 100% agree with you on that statement. The room in the Kubota is unmatched. I will 100% agree with you. Because of that overhead door design, they've got a really tall cab on them. 100%. The one downside to that is if you do something where you have to get like residential work, if you do any of the garage finishes before they pour the slab in the garage, Kubota ain't your machine because you're not going to fit under that garage. So that is the one downside to the Kubota. If you have to get in low hanging areas, the Kubota is a tall machine, so it is not going to be your machine. Let's see here. Nathan, what are the complaints about the Case Alpha Series? So lots of complaints. The early Alpha Series, so I will tell you 100%, do not touch any Alpha Series before 2014. Don't do it. They're problem-filled machines. I thought I got a guy into a 20, I think I sold him a 2012, that had all of the updates done to it. I thought we were in good shape. I sold it to this guy. It ended up being the world's shittiest machine, and I felt like the world's shittiest person because I sold it to him. Do not touch any machine before 2014 on the Case Alpha Series. Past that, the big complaints. The final drive lines, before they were updated, which I think was after 2014, they were rubber lines going to the final drives. They always burst. They ended up coming out with an update kit to switch them over to steel lines. I think if you go with a 2015 and forward, they come from the factory with steel lines. The other big issue you have is the wiring harness. The wiring harness has a ton of rub points. They have issues right and left. The biggest piece of advice I'll give you if you do end up getting an Alpha Series is drop the belly pans probably 3 to 4 times a year and spray everything out of the belly of that machine, because you have severe wire harness issues if you don't. The B Series, they actually updated that wiring harness. They did some, I don't know if it was Kevlar wrap, but they did some updates to the big problematic points where it rubbed. The other issue from an operational standpoint, the biggest issue with the Alpha Series was the EH controls. They were super jittery even if you slowed them way down. And it's hard to explain. It's not like they were just too fast. It was like the EH was either the EH controls. It was almost like it was an on-off switch. So you couldn't just ease into your functions. Even if you had it on the slowest setting, you'd ease into it and then they would take off, and then they would move at a slow rate if you had them turned all the way down. If you had them turned all the way up, that thing was just a freaking, like it was like operating the machine on crack. It was so jittery and jerky. With the B Series, they literally revamped the entire EH system. They revamped the valves, they revamped the controllers, they revamped the actual handles themselves. The entire system has been totally redone. So it is way smoother, it's way more natural feeling, it's way, way better. So that was another big issue. And then the biggest irritating issue with the Alpha Series was the freaking menus. The Alpha Series has a little panel on it that I'm not even exaggerating, is about this big, and it contains 4 buttons. You've got the power button, you've got your start button, you've got your hydraulics engage button, and then you have an auxiliary override button. And then right above that, you have a little LCD screen that's about this big, and all of your information is displayed on that tiny, tiny, tiny little LCD screen. And so when you go through the menus, it is almost impossible to navigate. It is a pain. You literally have to have the manual out in front of you breaking down the menu structure. And even then, especially when it comes to setting your code for locking and unlocking the machine, the menus aren't even correct. And it'll take you 45 minutes to an hour to figure out how to set your code and change the code and create multiple. It's terrible. So those are the chief complaints with the Alpha Series. The B Series has a brand new screen. It's actually the same screen that came out of the loaders. It's totally revamped. The EH controls are totally revamped. The wiring harness issues have been fixed. The lines going to the final drives have been fixed since 2015. Like, everything is totally, totally different. So, did I give you a big enough background there? I hope I didn't scare you off too much, but yeah. Let's see here. Where in Montreal? So that was a question for Nick. Yeah, Shand, I will say, as much as I shit on the landfill, like, that is a fascinating line of work. I would love to spend some time in a landfill, because it is, like, the whole operation is really fascinating to me. It smells, but it is a fascinating operation. I'd love to get into some landfills, but the problem is, landfills do not want you there, and they do not want you filming because of all of the, like, there's a lot of politics there. So, yeah, Sean, great advice. At the end of the day, to be a good operator, it's slow and steady. It's making sure you're not overrunning your abilities as an operator. So all of us can go fast, but you're going to be faster if you go slower and you're more accurate on your first pass than it is going super fast and taking 3 passes to get there. So Camille, what is your favorite machine? Like overall operating, I I don't know. That's a hard question. I don't know. So I really love Loader. Loader will always have a special place in my heart because I literally spent 2.5 years just balls out running Loader, and it was an absolute blast. And it was one of those machines that like just running the machine itself isn't that difficult, but the workload that's associated for running a loader for a pipe crew, it is a very difficult job. And so I really took a lot of pride in the fact that I did it well, because there's not a lot of guys that can do it and be efficient and keep everything straight. So I really enjoyed loader. When it comes to like just super laid back zen operating, I would say excavator, like doing the ditch cleaning or bombing trucks. Like that's just super relaxing. There's not a lot of thought. You can throw on your music and just have a nice chill day. Really enjoy that. But then I also like dozers. Like I really enjoy like when you're having a good day in a dozer and you're just on and you're able to fly around at max speed and you're able to keep a nice smooth grade. Like there's not much more satisfying than being able to do that. So it's really hard for me to pick an absolute favorite machine. And I can't say I have a favorite machine because I haven't ran a track loader yet, and that's my dream machine that I have yet to be able to operate. And I'm not going to call a favorite machine until I've had the chance to play in a track loader. And that's where I stand. So, Kubota Minis for the win. You know, Aaron, I don't know that I can fully 100% commit to the Kubota being the end-all mini amazing machine. There are some really good minis out there, but they're good machines. I'll give you that. So, so Camille, I will tell you, when it comes to excavators, at the end of the day, once you get used, so your PC200 that you've been running, when you really get comfortable in that, when you step up, it's just bigger and slower, in all honesty. It's really intimidating when you first get into a bigger machine just because of the size aspect. But I will say the longer you spend in the machines, the more seat time you get, you really start to realize that the bigger the machine, it's just bigger and slower. All of the functions are the same. The mechanics are for the most part the same. The only real thing I will say is there's definitely an error factor there that, you know, if you screw up in a 385 a little bit, it has a lot bigger impact than when you screw up in a mini excavator a little bit. But at the same time, because it's slower, you can, you know, it's easier to grade. You have more reaction time. Yeah, with time, you will get more and more comfortable to where those big machines aren't nearly as intimidating to you. So, Aaron, honestly, I won't argue against you. I will not argue against you the fact that Kubota makes a good machine. Kubota, when it comes to skids and hose, makes some really solid equipment. So I 100% will not argue with you. That being said, across the board, excavators are the lowest warranty issue item in anyone's inventory. And it's just because at the end of the day, excavators aren't getting banged around like dozers are. They don't have the super complex moving parts like loaders and some of the other equipment do. So most guys don't have a ton of issues with their excavators. But again, I'm not going to argue with you. Kubota makes some mean machines. They got some good equipment. So, Case Alpha Series to a T. 445 is junk. Rubber hydro lines, burst, belly paint. Yeah. The Alpha Series had a crap load of issues, and I hate to say that because Case puts out some really good equipment, but what happened with the Alpha Series is Case rushed it to market. They were eager to get a new machine on the market in the skid line, and so they rushed that Alpha series to market, thinking we'll fix the problems on the backside of it. And unfortunately, what that meant is they burned the snot out of themselves to the point that a ton of the industry that were diehard case guys went elsewhere, and they don't want to touch another case machine. It sucks because the B series, like, it's phenomenal, and now you've got the DL550. And, you know, what kind of tarnished name have you given the DL550 because you rushed the Alpha series out there and gave everyone a bad taste in their mouth? So, you know, we'll see what happens. But like I said, so far with the B series, I have heard nothing but absolute praise from everyone. And that's including my rep contacts from Case who have the behind the scenes knowledge. I've been asking them, what have you heard? What have you been hearing about the B series? And it's all been positive so far. So I'm really, really hoping that they turn things around. So Aaron, I'm not sure what's going on with Kubota. I have heard a couple murmurings recently about some issues with Kubota, but I haven't really drilled down into them at all. So, you know, Dirty Dan, I would love to get hold of Soldier of Dirt because he is in San Antonio and I am from Austin, and my sister lives north of Austin in Temple, and I'm planning on going down that way later this year. And so if he would maybe hook me up with some seat time. Let's just say I'm already on your thought process there, brother. So I have already been thinking down that road. If you guys are familiar with Eagle Eye Productions on Instagram, he's out of the Central Texas area as well. And so one of the things I've been talking about is if I do end up going down to Texas this summer, possibly spending some time meeting up with him and with Soldier of Dirt. If he'll let me run his track loader, I might kiss him on the mouth. I'm just going to say it out loud. Like that's where we're at right now with my track loader dream. I might be willing to kiss a man on the mouth to get some seat time in a track loader. Does that make me a cheap whore? That's a good question. We'll dig into that next week. Let's see here. Nathan, I was in a landfill dumpster material. August here in Tennessee. It stunk bad. Looked over. A guy was standing outside. I will say that is one aspect of those landfill guys. They apparently get used to the smell and it doesn't bother them so much. I don't know that we all say it on this side of the table that you'd never be able to do it, but I'm sure if you do it day in, day out for 30 years like most of those guys do, I'm sure at some point you just don't even smell it anymore. Camille, how many years have you been in construction? So I've worked in the industry for, over a decade. Maybe coming up on 12 years, I think, all in all. So 10 or 11 years, if I had to guess. So I think I came into the industry when I was 24, 25, running off-road quarry trucks and articulated dump trucks for Ranger Excavating down in Texas. I did that for, I think, about a year, a little over a year. And then we made the decision to move up to Michigan. I came to work for a residential company and worked for them digging basements, doing finish grades. That's really where I learned to operate. And I worked for them for 2.5 years. Then I went to work for a large company, got into the union, and ran everything under the sun. And I did that for 5.5 years. Excuse me. Then I went to selling equipment. I sold equipment for a little over 2 years. And now I've been doing this for over a year, where I kind of freelance operate and do my video stuff. So I've been in the industry for a little while. I wouldn't say I'm 100% an expert. I wouldn't say I'm 100% the best operator out there, but I've got a fair amount of seat time under my belt. And the nice thing is my background has given me really unique perspectives on different aspects of the industry. So I am really grateful for the road that I've been on, just because it has given me a lot of different perspectives. It's given me a lot of insights into different areas of the industry. So yeah, I've been in there for a while. Aaron, in all honesty, I wish I could answer this better for you. I don't have a great answer for you on that particular model. I'm sorry. I don't have better information for you. We sold Kubota out of our Indiana store. And so, I was familiar enough to know that they put out some pretty solid machines and guys were generally pretty happy with them. But unfortunately, I didn't get any hands-on experience. We didn't see a lot of them in and out of our shop just because there weren't a ton in our area. So, unfortunately, I do not have advice for you, and I apologize for that. So, yeah, Sean, 100%. Their machines were solid. Everyone, I will say this about the Kubotas. Everyone I knew that owned them ranted and raved about them. My only complaint with them was with the stock bucket, they didn't come with like the low profile buckets like a lot of the manufacturers have now. And so you couldn't really see the corners of your bucket unless you leaned really far forward in the cab. That was my only real complaint on the machines. Other than that, they were great machines. So, cheap depends on how nice the track loader is. Let's see here. Sean, cat dealer. Cat dealer in my area is. God, had you not asked me that? Dadgummit. It's Michigan Cat, which is McAllister. Thank you. Thank you. Why am I thanking you? I came up with that answer on my own, damn it. Stop trying to take credit. McAllister is the dealership or the rental side of it. But it's Michigan Cat is what they're referred to up here. So. Oh, Shad or Shand. I keep calling you Shad. It's Shand. 100%. Yeah. I would imagine you make her car smell, and I'm gonna side with your wife on this one. You should probably stop taking her car, because that's pretty rude to bomb her car out and then leave her with a shitty smelling car. That's pretty rude. Dirty Dan, thoughts on wheel dozers? I don't really have any, honestly, because I haven't really been around them a whole lot. I will say that's a super application specific machine. Generally, you're only going to see them in like quarries and mines, and they're generally only taking care of haul road maintenance, just because you don't, like you have way too much flex in the tires to be able to accurately carry a grade if you were just rough grading a lot. And I think about the job that Rick and I were on this week. Like, there was so much rebar and everything in the ground. There's no way a wheeled machine would have been able to make it. So, for the application, like, you can't beat the machine, because you think about a quarry or a mine. You've got miles and miles of haul road that need to be made. Can't talk again. That need to be. God dang it, Brian. Let me collect my thoughts. All right. You have miles and miles of haul road that need to be. We might just have to wrap this one up, guys. Sweet Lord. Miles and miles of haul road that need to be maintained. That's what I was trying to say. A regular dozer, your blade's only going to be able to keep up so much with all of that with doing regular maintenance. But most of the time you see those wheeled dozers used in areas where you've got a really quick, like we've got a huge hole that developed, we need to run over here and fill it. Or you've got to clean up after whatever your front shovel is real quick. Like, it's where you can zip around the job site really quick and hit a couple problem areas and do a halfway decent job. That's why those machines are so effective at what they do, is because they can get there quickly because they've got the wheels as opposed to tracks. So for that, I would say 100%, like, they're great machines for that. But outside of that application, you're not going to see them anyplace else, just because they are very limited on the terrain that they can go on. So, Aaron, it is interesting. I have. That's one thing I've actually thought is really interesting, watching generally speaking, an ag company switch over to the construction side. Same with Deere, in all honesty. Watching them cross over to construction from ag was really interesting to watch. So, Um, Camille, merch is available. So this is something that actually just recently, within the last week or so, came to my attention. I try really hard not to be one of those guys that just pitches merch out there all the time and is constantly like, buy my stuff, because I can't stand it when guys do that. But I'm finding that I've gone too far the other way, and people don't realize that my merch is available. If you go to dieselandironproductions.com, which I'm going to put in the chat, and ironproductions.com. If you go to that site, I have a store, and all of my merchandise, the shirts, the hats, I've got hoodies, I've got crop tops for girls, I've got kids clothes, all of that is available for purchase. So I actually do have merchandise out there for purchase. Like I said, it's such a fine line. I really don't want to be those guys that's constantly pushing merchandise, but I do appreciate it when you guys purchase merchandise, because that is 100% going to fund like upgrades to my equipment. So like example, this camera that I'm filming on right now, I'd like to get a wider angle lens for it. I need to get another GoPro. There's all sorts of equipment upgrades that I would like to do over time, and 100% merchandise purchases are funding that. So all that to say, let's see here. 5'6", dadgum, Aaron. Dadgum, you could almost sit in my lap in that machine. Oh, no, Nathan, you weren't here. We've already had the backhoe discussion, and I've already gotten on my soapbox again about how terrible backhoes are and how I hate them. So, yeah, no, we've gone down the backhoe path. We did. So, Ryan, track loaders. Track loaders are generally used in two applications, at least here in the States. The first is the legitimate application, which is for moving a shitload of dirt. So the advantage that a track loader has is you've got the bucket capacity, and the bucket capacity on like a 973, I want to say, is like 9 yards. They can move a crap load of dirt. It's insane. So you've got that aspect of it. But then you've also got the ability that it's like a dozer. So you can load that bucket with 9 yards of material, but then you can actually shove that with, however, I bet you could probably add another 50% in front of it, like a dozer, and push the snot out of it. Shand, oh my gosh, guys. Like, I appreciate the cash. Like, legit, this is the first time anyone's ever given me cash, and I've had 2 different people tonight give me cash. Thank you. I cannot tell you thank you enough. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Anyway, I totally lost my track of thought. Thank you, Shand. I appreciate it, guys. I put a lot of work into this channel. I really appreciate you guys supporting it. Camille, thank you for going and honestly, thank you guys for purchasing the merchandise. Thank you for throwing some cash my way. I really do appreciate that. What were we talking about? Dang it. Shand, you make me lose my train of thought with your awesome generosity. You're a terrible person. Anyway, track loader. So you've got the ability, you've got the ability to carry a crap load of material. You can then load it up with like another 40% of material in front of it and push like a dozer. And I believe you can equip those with GPS almost like a dozer. So you can actually start to cut grade. Now you don't have the 6-way, blade obviously when you've got a bucket, but you can at least have GPS in the machine to where you can cut things to grade. So that's the primary application where I would say they're super beneficial. The other application you see track loaders used a lot for here in the States is for digging basements. And, I don't know if anyone in here in particular is going to get fired up about it, but I know someone's going to get fired up at some point. That's the worst machine you can use for digging basements. It's horribly inefficient because every bucket you go down into the hole to take out, you then have to drive back up out of the hole, take it over to your pile, dump it, and then you have to go back down in the hole. Tell me how that is more efficient than an excavator. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. The other thing I learned, and believe it or not, I actually learned this from John Fetchco when I was down in Ohio filming for Fetchco. We had a discussion about this. I didn't realize it. The run costs of a track loader are 3 times higher than an excavator. So let's say in a beautiful scenario, if I'm digging a basement with an excavator and right next door I'm digging the same basement layout with a track loader, and somehow we were able to dig it in the same amount of time, and I'm telling you right now, as a good hoe operator, I will outdig the track loader all day long. I'm sorry, it is what it is. But let's say in a magical scenario, you dig it in the same amount of time. It still cost you as the business owner 3 times more to dig it with the track loader than it did with the excavator. So that's another reason it is the most horrendous option for digging a basement. Another reason it's horrendous for digging a basement. But wait, there's more. With an excavator, you can keep a crown in the basement, which means that you're cutting down on your generally here. I'll talk about Michigan. In Michigan, we backfill the middle of the basement that's just going to be the slab for the floor. We backfill that with pea stone. If you leave a 4 to 6 inch crown, it cuts down. It's got to be virgin. It's got to be virgin soil, undisturbed. If you leave your crown, that cuts down on the amount of pea stone you have to backfill with. You can't do that with a track loader because you're rutting the whole entire floor of the basement up while you track around trying to finish out that basement. So now you don't have a crown, so you're paying more for pea stone. Secondly, you've now rutted up the entire floor of the basement. Tell me how that is virgin soil when you've spent the last hour rutting around trying to finish out your basement. So those are the 2 ways, those are generally the 2 scenarios that you see track loaders used. One of which is 100% correct, and 100%, one of them is 100% not correct. And I know I'm going to piss some people off. It is what it is. Anyway, let's get back to it, guys. Where did we leave off? Backhoes are great till they're not. Aaron, 100%. In certain applications, they can be great. So, Camille, I don't understand, you do or do not want to see electric and robotic machines? Because they're coming, but it's a long ways off. Lil Sketchers, hey, thanks for showing up, man. Have I made Little Sketchers, I don't think I've made a video specifically about grading with a skid steer. I don't think. I don't know. If you go back on my channel, I did like a skid school for a while, and I don't remember if I covered that one or not, but that was super early on. I need to actually redo those videos. But yeah, at some point here. Hey, I don't believe there are any single ladies in here. But if you want, maybe we could throw on Beyonce for you and make you feel a little more at home. And I 100% believe you are the best operator in this chat room. Let us know, hey, what is your favorite machine to operate, since you are the best operator? Let's see here, Camille. Little Sketcher, look at heavy metal learning. So I will tell you guys, I have to be careful here because I'm not gonna poo-poo on anyone. Randy knows how to teach people to run the machine as far as pulling sticks. But the reason he's having other operators make content for him is because he doesn't have any real world like industry experience, which like I don't want to dog him for that. That's not a problem. But at the same time, I would almost say go to like Elite Earthworks. He would be a really good one to watch grade in a skid steer, or Dirt Perfect. I think he's got some skid steer videos. Let's Dig 18, he's got some really good skid steer videos. Those would be the guys to watch to really learn how to grade. And then, I need to put out a video at some point. So maybe I will do that at some point here just for you, little Sketchers. So, Shan, thanks again. Like, I'm working my way down and I'm back to your I really do appreciate the cash. I really do. I really appreciate that. Yeah, Sean, that's the way I feel. You spend all day fighting the backhoe to make it do something that you could have done way easier in an excavator or a CTL. Like, that's what it is. The whole time you run a backhoe, you're like, God damn it, if I just had a freaking CTL here, I'd already be done. Or if I had a mini excavator, I could reach out there and grab that and it wouldn't be a problem. But instead, you're stuck running a backhoe. So, So, Camille, I wouldn't worry about seeing... So, electric machines we may see... I would be more... Let me see how I want to word this. I would be more worried about seeing electric machines than I would about seeing robotic machines. So, autonomous machines are still a long ways off in the industry. But Tier 5 is coming... And that is prompting all of the manufacturers to double down on their electric technology. So you're starting to see more electric machines. You're starting to see the manufacturers focus more on electric stuff. So I would actually worry about that before I would worry about the autonomous machines. So, Aaron, 100%. Like, that's what all those contractors don't understand. You spent 3 times more to run the machine to grade that basement. So there's money out of your pocket. And then you're spending more money on P-Stone. There's more money out of your pocket. Like, where is the win on the track loader other than the fact that it's just what everyone does in this area and that's how we do it? Like, that's literally what it boils down to, is why so many of those guys use track loaders. It's just the way they do it. So... And I'm not one of those guys to just do something because everyone else does. Lee, I'm assuming you're talking to me and not, hey, so what's going on, man? Thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. Yeah, Dirty Dan, those tilt attachments are freaking sweet. And I am with you. I don't know, but we're Americans. So Americans have this pride thing where we don't use any of them filthy European attachments. God damn it. I like my machine how it came from the factory with its flat bucket that doesn't move. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. Like, there's a reason the European community has latched on to all these attachments. That's one of the things that Rick, my buddy, sorry, that's a little distracting. Let me move that out of the frame. That's how Rick and I are able to take on so many of the jobs that we do, is he has his TV 450 skid steer, and he has a tree shear, he has the Fecon head, he has a log grapple, he has a stump grinder, he's got his main bucket. What am I missing? He's got another attachment, and I can't remember it offhand. Like, the versatility you have in one machine because of all those attachments. You can do the same thing with an excavator. You put a tilt wrist on there, or you put a tilt rotator on there, or you put some of these other attachments. Like, prime example, here in the north, the number of guys that don't use a frost ripper in the wintertime blows my mind. A frost ripper costs you $2,500, and yet it's going to save you a phenomenal amount of wear and tear on the machine. It's going to get you through the frost way more efficiently than trying to dig through it and pound the snot out of your machine with the bucket. Like, why? Why, as Americans, are we so opposed to attachments? It blows my mind. So, you've gotten me off on a tangent again. But yes, Dirty Dan, I 100% agree. Why don't more guys use that tilt bucket attachment so that you're not trying to somehow do all these funky undulations with a flat bucket? So, Aaron, that's how you know you've made it. And that's why trolls have never offended me, is because trolls only start to mess with you when you become legit. And so I'm just like, bring it on, bud. I'm all about it. So, let's see here. Yeah, wet sticky clay grading with anything. Wet sticky clay is absolutely miserable, like 100%. So yes, Ryan, I don't recommend that either. Little Sketchers, there's not really a secret. It's one of those things where you have to. So if you're going down the route of buying a machine, that means that you probably own your own business, because you're not going to buy a machine for someone else. So really what it boils down to is you need to know your costs. Operating costs are everything in this industry, and it shocks me the number of guys that don't really know their fundamental operating costs. When you take a skid steer on a job, what is your hourly operating cost? That's factoring in maintenance. It's factoring in like all of the small things: oil changes, coolant, cutting edges, just track wear, all sprocket wear, undercarriage wear, like all of it. Your insurance, your fuel. What are your hourly operating costs? You need to factor all of that in over the lifetime of the machine. How many hours you're going to run that machine a week on average? And you need to boil all of that down to say, okay, when I run that machine on a job, it's costing me $63 an hour to run that machine. That's critical. That's how you're going to decide whether or not you can afford a machine. Because most likely, nobody's able to, unless you're a larger company, no one's able to just go pay cash for a machine. So you're going to have to finance it. And there's nothing wrong with that, assuming that you plan for it, you know your operating costs, and you bill accordingly, and you're able to make that back. So the one thing I'll tell you is know what your costs are. And that's not just that machine, that's your overall business. You need to know what your operating costs are, but then you also need to know what your operating cost per hour is for that machine. And you need to cover yourself. And then you can go and finance that machine if you need it. So that being said, give me just a quick minute. I'm going to be right back, guys. I'm going to go refill my water, and then we can continue this. I'll be right back. All right, sorry guys. Oh, that's better. That's better. Okay. Where do we leave off here? Little Sketchers, we got you covered. Cat excavators and loaders are the best. It's all a matter of opinion. I wouldn't say they're 100% the best. They make good machines, but hey Camille, not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. I don't even know how you donate, in all honesty. I do know if you go to my website, you can either buy some gear, or I do have a donate button on my website if you want to do it that way. but you do not need to. I promise, no pressure. So, forestry mulcher. Ryan, that was like a random Tourette's outburst. What are you referring to when you just say forestry mulcher? I have no context for that comment. Oh, the Fecon head. Yeah, okay, I know what you were talking about. I know, we're good. I'm with you. That's the Fecon head I was referring to, is the forestry mulcher. But yeah, that's a badass attachment, man. Aaron, exactly. That's right. Americans are so great at just arrogantly going out there and charging ahead totally in the wrong direction, but we're confident when we do it, and there's no question about it. We're going in the right direction in our mind. So let's see here. That's right, Ryan. I did make sure. I don't even remember because I can't hear it on my end. I don't even remember what the classy hold music is, but I do remember that I tried to select some very classy sounding hold music. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Little Sketchers. This is one of the hardest freaking questions that I've been asked multiple times, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You're okay asking it again. I love these questions, but it's a hard question to answer. Like, what piece of equipment? So when it comes to excavators, I would say a Kobelco is my favorite machine. When it comes to loaders, I would probably say either a Cat or a Case. When it comes to dozers, hands down a Case. When it comes to skid steers, I really like that Deere 333G. That was a really solid machine. So it really just depends. When it comes to pulverizers, either Cat or Bomag. It just depends on the piece of equipment. In all honesty, it just depends. Yeah, Aaron, 100%. If you want to talk about the biggest game changer to the excavating industry in general, it's when they came out with the steam shovel and then kind of it morphed into the hydraulic excavator. There is not a more versatile, capable, game-changing machine out there. I mean, it is amazing. You don't see a job site without an excavator on it. Like, they're everywhere because they are so functional. So yeah, 100% excavators are the most versatile machines out there on the job. So the nice thing, Ryan, to kind of go off of what you were saying, the nice thing about mini excavators is you get the dozer blade. So now you've not only got the ability to dig the trench, but you can do some pretty decent grading. In fact, if you go back on my channel, kind of mid-summer of last year, early summer, I don't remember exactly when it was, we were regrading the back lot on a property, and I had a CX80, which is a mid-size excavator, and it had a dozer blade on it. I dozed the entire lot with that excavator and was able to shape it with the arm. Like, it's amazing the capabilities of those excavators with the dozer blade. That's one machine. Like, you don't have to bring anything else. We brought the skid out to help grade to make it go faster. I could have done that entire job with that CX80. So, yep, Camille, 100%. They are super, super useful. So the Diamond Forestry Mulcher, Sean, let's see here. I'm assuming that's Blue Diamond, which they make good equipment. There we go, Forestry Mulcher. So that looks pretty similar to the Fecon. So I'll flip you guys over to my browser. Let you guys tag along here. So this is the Blue Diamond Fecon, or Blue Diamond Fecon. This is the Blue Diamond Mulcher he was talking about. So the carbide pattern, or the teeth pattern, I should say, looks fairly similar to the Fecon. They don't look as clustered as the Fecon head. 34 tooth. I want to say the Fecon has a little more teeth on it. The only other question I would ask is the motor and how it's linked. Because I think on the Fecon head, it's actually got a chain drive right over here. But yeah, my experience when I sold equipment, my experience with, let me flip you guys over to the main camera again, sorry. My experience with Blue Diamond was they made good attachments, but they tended to be a little lighter duty than some of the counterparts like Paladin or Fecon or some of the other big names. So it wasn't that they were bad attachments, they weren't just quite as heavily duty built, but they were good attachments. So, but I have no experience with their forestry head. Little Sketchers, I have very limited run Kubotas, mostly around the yard. I haven't really done any job site stuff with them. So, Nathan, the cab room on the 333G was fantastic. I was super happy with the cab room. The only complaint I had with the Deere, which I knew getting into it, was the visibility. The visibility is pretty limited because you have super beefy lift arms. Your boom arms are really, really thick. You have no visibility out of the rear of the cab. You have a reverse cam. But the visibility is probably by far the biggest negative on that machine. But that being said, it's heavy. It's built like a tank. Dirty Dan, what is happening tonight, guys? Oh my gosh, I really appreciate this, man. No joke, like the contributions tonight. I've never had contributions before, and we're up to $16. Like, no joke. Thanks, guys. Man, I love it. I appreciate you guys. But anyway, the 333, like, it's heavy. Like, you can tell it's built like a tank, absolute tank, and it pushes like it too. So I was really happy with the production that I got out of the machine. I wasn't in it long enough to be able to talk about fuel consumption or anything like that, so I don't know how fuel efficient it was. But the layout of the cab was super nice. Nice screen. You had a nice reverse cam. As far as all of the controls were super ergonomic. I did like the responsiveness of the controls. The handles, the joysticks themselves were just slightly stiff. That was my only complaint from a control standpoint, is they could have been just a hair, and I mean just a hair looser. But overall, I really, really like the 333G. So, let's see here. What are we at to? What are we up to next? Excavator or skid steer? Excavator. Little Sketchers. Hands down, excavator. I just like the versatility of an excavator. I like what you can do with it. And I enjoy running. I don't like running skid steers. Between you and me, I don't like running skid steers. I will run them. I do it when it's necessary. I used to be pretty decent at grading in them back when I did it a lot. I can't say that I do it enough to be super great at it now, but I'm just not a fan. They bounce the snot out of you. The CTLs, especially without a suspension, they're pretty rough riding. I don't like the crampedness of being in a tiny cab, and it doesn't matter what machine you're in. You know, even the 333 that we were just talking about, like, it's a better, more spacious cab, but at the end of the day, it's a skid steer. It's a small cab, and the visibility, it's just, I'm not a fan. So I will always pick an excavator over a skid. Dolomed, ever worked on a bridge? No, I have not. I have not done any bridge work in my career, believe it or not. I've been on jobs where bridge work was going on, and I've kind of assisted getting supplies for those guys, but I've never been directly involved in bridge work. So, Little Sketchers, I'm sorry. I just noticed that it wasn't picking up the browser for whatever reason. I was just looking at the Fecon head. I'm sorry, guys. Camille, my name is Brian. Yep, that's it. There's like 5 others of us in this chat. There's well, I say that. There's like 2 other Brians and there's like 18 Ryans in here. And I don't even know which Ryan I've chatted with. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I thought it was picking up the browser window, but anyway, all I was looking at was the Fecon, or the Blue Diamond head, so I don't know why that wasn't working. Let me flip back out. Kind of makes me... Oh, you know what? Nope, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, guys. It's not working. I'm sorry. I have failed you tonight. I have failed you. Oh, well. Yeah, so Little Sketchers, that sliding door is absolutely an advantage on the Kubota unless you have to get in low-hanging areas. And the example I always use, because it's pretty common with guys, is on the residential side. If you have to grade inside the garage to prep for the garage slab, you can't do it with those Kubotas. They're too tall. So that's the only disadvantage to that. But outside of that, they're great machines. Little Sketchers. So if I had to start my own business, I think I would probably buy like a 5-ton mini excavator. So on the larger side of the minis is what I would probably start with. And the reason being, you've got the blade, you're pretty versatile, you've got a small enough footprint, you can make it into most lots, but it's on the bigger side, so you've got some lift capacity. You can still pull it behind a dually pickup, as opposed to having to go and invest in a dump truck and a triaxle trailer. If I was just starting from humble beginnings with one machine, that's probably what I would get. If you had a little more cash flow, I would probably step up to probably like a 145 excavator, so a zero swing machine with a blade on it. Have a dump truck with a tag trailer that you could pull it around with. Now you've opened up the door to where you can do basements, you can do lot clearing, you can do some rough grading, you can do a little finer grading once you get good at it. So that opens up a lot of possibilities for you with one machine. And then very quickly down the road, I would probably invest in buying a small dozer. So, closed cab. Aaron, 100% enclosed cab. I like my air conditioning. I like my heat in the wintertime. I like not sucking down dust every day. 100% I enjoy an enclosed cab. Now, that being said, clean your windows. That's the reason most people don't like their enclosed cabs, is because they don't clean their windows, and every time that sun peeks out, you can't see crap. If you keep your windows clean, you will absolutely be able to see. So, yeah, there you go, Ryan. 100%. You're right up my alley right there. Let's see here. Ryan, the other Ryan Christopher Wagner. And someone asked me, what's your favorite machine? Everybody say excavator. This gets here, then dozer. Or tire. Now I said, yeah, 100%, Ryan. It just depends on the situation and what you're into, and what you got going on and what your needs are. There's just it just all depends. So, Little Sketchers, how do I find work? I'm in such a weird position. So the way I find work has been through relationships. What you'll find in life is relationships are everything. And as you guys can probably tell from my channel, I'm pretty social, I'm pretty outgoing. When I sold equipment, I made a lot of relationships in the industry. I have a lot of contacts that I actually call on for this channel. Multiple contractors that I've used for my down and dirties that I kind of do research on before I put them out. And one of the results of those relationships is I have a handful of people that I can call on that I know are in need of help, because the industry's hurting for operators right now. and I can call on these guys and say, hey, if you want me for a couple days, I can give you a discounted rate if you'll let me film. The nice thing is, Rick, who has become a close personal friend, like, I sold him his skid steer, his Fecon head, his log grapple, and his stump grinder. So that's how I established I still remember my first meeting with Rick a couple years ago, sitting down at a Tim Hortons at like 7:30 at night to talk about skid steer options. And that's how he and I met. So it started purely as a business contact relationship. But slowly what happened is, as he got into the machine, I started helping him out, and he was, helping me out with questions I had, and we just established that friendship. And then when I started doing this channel, he knew that I could use some operating time. I knew that he needed an operator, so we were able to very quickly work out an arrangement where I could kind of freelance for him. And then once I established myself as being a legitimate operator on the YouTube space, then I was able to reach out to guys like Carson Shifsky and a couple other guys, and establish some other relationships kind of outside of my little personal sphere here. And that's how I'm able to go operate for other companies. And outside of that, it's been networking on different social media platforms. That's how I found Fetchco. I actually was asking them if I could come film their quad tracks. They run Case quad tracks pulling big scraper pans. And I was asking if I could come film them. That's how we got to chatting, that I do promotional video work. And that's how I was able to book that promotional video gig. So a very long-winded answer to your question, little sketchers. It's all about just relationships. I have a lot of relationships that I can contact guys that I know they're in need of an operator or in need of someone to do some video work for them, and I just kind of use my contacts there. So Kubota tractor, really good. Camille, I don't have any knowledge on small tractors. You'll have to ask somebody in here if they've got any experience with those. I have no experience with small compact tractors, so I honestly don't have an opinion on that one. I'm sorry, I can't help you more. So Nathan, interesting you ask. If you go, I believe on my Instagram, I posted this picture. We don't have like the Florida level sinkholes where the earth swallows someone all of a sudden. What we have instead are Michigan sinkholes where, because of crumbling infrastructure, there has been a giant cavity eroded under the road. Back when I was working for Dan's, about 6 or 7 years ago, I was running a concrete breaker, and I went in on a Saturday to help out on a job site and was only supposed to break for like 4 or 5 hours. And towards the end of the day, all of a sudden I'm braking, with my machine, and the machine starts to lean backwards. And I didn't know what happened. I just knew something was going on. And so I shut the hammers off really fast, as quick as I could, ran over there, shut them off, and went around to the back of the machine. I had broken through the concrete. This is a road that I'm breaking. I'd broken through the concrete, and there was a cavity that you could have buried a car in under the road. And I am so lucky that machine did not just tumble back. I say I'm lucky. It probably would have been better for my life had that machine gone down in that hole, because I hated running it. It was miserable. But from a safety standpoint, I was super lucky that machine didn't go down in that hole. But it was a huge cavity. So those are the sinkholes we deal with in Michigan. If you recall, if you saw it in the news, it was big news in this area. There was a giant sinkhole that opened up down in the Detroit area where I think a 72-inch sewer main. It was one of the mains that fed the treatment plant, had been crumbling because it had basically caved in, and then because of the sheer volume of sewer water, instead of caving in and sealing it off, it had swept all of the debris downstream, and had started creating a sinkhole. It was starting to swallow a couple houses in the area. They ended up having to open up this huge job site and go down I want to say like 30 or 40 feet to repair this 72-inch main and re-sleeve it and do a bunch of rehab on it. So those are the sort of sinkholes we deal with here in Michigan, and it's just from failing infrastructure. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, Ryan, 100%. If you're wanting to start your own business, it is 100% your focus needs to be the job that you do. Your name is everything in the industry. Well, and not even the industry. In life, your reputation is everything. You know, if you're one of those people that your word is honest and true and people know you stand by it, you're going to go places in life. But if you go about it the way that a lot of guys do, unfortunately, in this industry, where it's super shady, you do the least amount possible and you try to, rake people over the coals, you're never going to make it. So, let's see here. Camille, what's the worst time of year to operate? Winter, 100%. So the problem is, well, you're in the north, Camille, in the wintertime, it's already cold as shit, and I hate the cold. I'm from Texas. I hate the cold. On top of that, anytime you do any digging, you have to spend at least 45 minutes at the end of the day shoveling your tracks, and then you have to park it on boards or on some grass so your machine doesn't freeze to the ground. If you have the joyous job of driving a dump truck in the wintertime, inevitably you have a bunch of stuff half frozen to the box that you have to get into at the end of the day and shovel out, because if you don't, and I can speak from experience, I learned the hard way, if you don't shovel it out, you will come in the next day and have to cover your entire dump box over with tarps and put a couple torpedo heaters in and spend about 4 hours doing back-breaking shoveling to get that stuff out because it froze solid to the box of your truck. Everything about winter sucks. I hate operating in the winter. That's why when I went to work for Dan's and I could make a crap load of money in the summertime, I took the layoff and I saved so I didn't have to work in the wintertime. Likewise with the channel here, I sit back in the wintertime and I coast on the footage that I have gained, or I try to go south. That's why I tried to schedule that Kentucky trip in the winter. I wanted to go south and get out of the snow and the nastiness. I hate operating in wintertime. Let's see here. Yeah, Aaron, 100%. You can absolutely carve out a niche with a mini excavator. Worst accident I've had. So I haven't had, and we're just going to knock on wood here because of the industry we're in, I haven't had any significant accidents. The closest I've gotten to one, I was running a loader with a side dump bucket. So basically, your loader sits flat and then the bucket will dump sideways so that you can dump off to the side, which is why it's called a side dump. I don't know why I'm explaining this to you because it's a fairly straightforward concept. But anyway, I was running a side dump bucket on a loader, and I was up on an elevated area. We were putting in an edge drain, and my job was to go through with my side dump and pea-stone the edge drain. So I had to run pea-stone, and I would drive forward as I lifted the side dump, and I would coat the edge drain with pea-stone. The area we were working in, we had like a 2.5 foot cut down to grade. There was no real convenient way to get to it, so because I was on the median of this roadway, and it was soft material, and it was just kind of a risky situation. And so we all knew it was risky, but that was the only way to really do it. So I was going about it, and all of a sudden the bank caved, and my loader was sitting like right on the verge of tipping. And so what I did is I told all of the laborers to get back. We already knew the grade was going to get jacked up. And so there's a trick you can do in a loader if you're not familiar, where you can tilt your bucket down, and then you can push your bucket down to lift your wheels off of the front. And so let's say I want to inchworm over to my left. I'm going to cut the wheel all the way to my left, so my angle, I'm sorry, this is going to look super funky while I'm doing it on camera, but it is what it is. So if I want to inchworm over to my left, I cut my loader all the way so that I'm angled over, and I set that bucket down and I push and raise my wheels off the ground, and then I turn my wheel to the right. And what it does is it picks your wheels up and scoots you to the left. And then you lift your bucket up, you turn all the way to the left again, you push your bucket down again, and then you scoot to the right, and it's going to scoot you further and further. And so what I was able to do, and the big risk was there was a possibility I was going to get into a situation where I started to tip. Fortunately, I was able to recover it, and I was able to inchworm myself off enough that I could drive off of that bank without screwing anything up too terrible. We ended up cutting out a 15-foot section of edge drain, patching it back in, doing a little spruce up work. Yeah, Aaron, exactly, crab walking. We were able to spruce up the grade, and it wasn't a big deal. So that's the closest I've been personally into an accident. Now, that being said, I was on a job. We were working at Detroit Metro Airport, and I was running cleanup dozer. There was a 385 pulling concrete, and it was towards the very end of the day. We probably had an hour of work left, and the operator was running with no cab guard on, and the window open on the machine, and I wasn't paying him attention. I was just running my dozer, cleaning up all the crumbs after him, pushing them up to him so he could load them out. And next thing I know, the 385 stops running, and so when I look up, the guy's standing on the track, and he's kind of waving at me, but he's kind of staggering. He's holding onto the side of the machine. Like, you could just tell something was going on. And so I shut my machine off really quick because you could just tell something was wrong. It wasn't, something was not right. So I shut the machine down, jumped off of it, started running over to him, and as I got closer, I could see he was bleeding. He had his safety glasses on. I could see he just had blood pouring down his face, and he was acting drunk. And as I got to him, he collapsed onto the track of the machine. So I started asking him what happened, and all he could make out, he was clearly in shock. All he could make out was that a piece of concrete had hit him, and he was complaining about his face hurting. He had a chipped tooth. He had some lacerations on his chin and kind of back over here. And then he was just bleeding like crazy. And I didn't know if, I could not tell. His safety glasses were cracked. I couldn't tell if he, had something going on with his eye or what. He ended up, I called 911. The airport emergency staff was the ones that responded. So they were there within probably 2 or 3 minutes of the call. Come to find out, a piece of concrete about the size of a small watermelon, large cantaloupe, had flown up from his bucket when he was pulling concrete. It had hit him. He turned last second and it hit him right in the face, fractured his skull, chipped his tooth, broke some bones in his face. They ended up rushing him off to the hospital. That was the last time I ever talked to him. From what I understand, he ended up having some long-term brain damage. He never returned to work. He had a hard time with speech afterwards. I think he had a hard time walking afterwards. So that was the only job site accident I have directly been involved in. So not to bring the mood down or anything, but at the same time, I do think that's a great question. I do think it's worth talking about. This is a really dangerous industry. Accidents happen. That was just one of those things. It was a fluke thing. It was the only thing that would have prevented it was if our employer had been running some sort of cab protection on the front, but they had taken it off because operators complained of visibility, and most of the time that machine wasn't being run or used for concrete removal, which is why it happened. So anyway, that is the worst accident we had on the job. So Dolomed, how many friends that work with cranes? I do have a recent acquaintance that works with cranes. I was in the process of getting my CCO before I quit operating full time. So yes, I do have a couple crane contacts. Little Sketchers, when I was working for Dan's, I was getting road scale, which I think was like 36 or 38 an hour, and benefits on top of it. So your total package was like 46 or so an hour. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while. Brian, I know, every time I was thinking about that earlier, every freaking time. The only reason I'm still up is because the wife already went to bed, so there's no point in cutting it off early tonight because we're not going to watch a show. Camille, I don't own any machines. That's a beauty of what I do. I get to operate and I have no overhead. I don't have any of the worries. I don't have any of the headaches. I just go operate and then I go home at the end of the night. So I don't own any machines. Unless you count our Tonkas in our dirt pile, in which case I have a bulldozer, I have 3 quarry trucks, I have an excavator, I have a truck-mounted excavator, and what else do we have? I think that sums it up. We got a fair amount of equipment. Oh, Sean, 100%. Like I was saying earlier, that pond job that we were doing, Rick and I, for 2 weeks of hardcore dirt moving for 12,000 yards of dirt, our costs are right around the 50,000 mark. People don't realize, and in fact, if any of you guys are familiar with Taylor at Ken White Construction, he just did a post on operating costs on Instagram, and that was the comment I made to him was, most people in this industry do not realize, yes, the machines are expensive by themselves when you purchase it. What they don't realize is the expense to run and maintain that equipment. Like diesel is astronomically expensive, insurance expensive, employees expensive. Margins are not what you think they would be in this industry. It is a super, super capital intensive industry. It is expensive to run. So 100%, it is super expensive. Hey Nathan, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate it. We'll catch you guys on the next one, man. Appreciate you hanging out. Yep, Aaron, 100%. As an operator, that is the thing about this industry that so many people we get complacent. At the end of the day, because we're around these machines all day, all the time, we get complacent. It's easy to forget how dangerous what we do is. And a prime example is this job I was working on with Rick this week. We're clearing trees right and left, picking them up with a thumb, and you just grab a little stick and you don't think anything about it. And so when we get out of the machine the other day, I go to grab a tree branch, and I was like, oh, I'll just pull that out of the way. You go to grab that sucker, and it's heavy as shit. But you don't realize it because that excavator is just able to flick it like it's nothing. It's so easy to become complacent around these machines and forget just how dangerous they are. You're talking a 160 size excavator. The bucket by itself is over 2,000 pounds. That's more than a car. To put it in perspective, that bucket for a 160 size excavator weighs more than a car. I mean, think about when you fill it with material. Like, you're talking serious forces being applied. We're carrying serious weight with these machines. It is very easy to forget how dangerous these machines are that we work with because you do it every day. So, Little Sketchers, great question. I quit operating because I had 2 kids. And without fail, every old timer I talked to in the industry, their biggest regret was not being around for their kids when they were growing up. And I made the decision, family has always been super important to me, and I made the decision very quickly that I was not going to be one of those guys that was sitting around the job site talking about how much they wish they had been there for their kids growing up. And so I came home and told my wife that I was going to make a career change. I wanted to stay in the industry because, as we all know, why we're here, it gets in your blood. You can't get away from the industry once you're in it, and I'm good with that. And so I decided I was going to pursue construction equipment sales. And that's when I went and did that for 2 years and got me the home time I was looking for. But you know, you long for the seat. As we all know, when you're out of the seat for a long time, you start to miss it. And so when I got canned from my dealership I was working for, that's when I decided to do this full time and try to pursue the freelance operating where I could still be home a fair amount and spend time with the family. So that is how I did it. Oh yeah, Camille, you got to be super, super, super careful anytime you're pulling with straps or chains. That is one of the most dangerous things on the job site because so many people just take for granted that the chain's going to hold. Um, that is such a big way to get yourself into trouble quick. So yes, 100% be super careful anytime you're using chains or cables to pull something out. Aaron, yep, no minis. I don't have a full-blown mini. Now, we do have one of the, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the little kid, like, excavators that you sit on the seat and you spin around and you got the two levers that make it work. We do have one of those. So you can call that a mini. And a lot of times I am in charge. The boys put me in charge of running the mini, filling their dump trucks while they build their haul roads around our dirt pile. So this is what an operator I am. He is now 6 years old. I think it was his third or fourth birthday present was a dump truck load of dirt, and then we got him Tonkas. And that is where in the summertime, my kids and I will spend hours at a time playing in the dirt pile. So that is, even when I'm at home, I'm still operating equipment. It's just on a smaller scale. So, yeah, Ryan, 100%. That's one of those things where guys think they're being cool and ballsy by standing next to that stuff. Nope, I have nothing to prove, and I would like to stay alive. So I'm not standing anywhere close to a chain when it's getting stretched. So, oh yeah, little Skechers. We had a guy on one of our job sites have his foot run over by a dozer. And he was lucky as crap because he caught the flat area of the pad as opposed to one of the grousers. And so instead of cleaving his foot in half, he got out of it with some soft tissue damage. But yeah, it is easy to forget how dangerous these machines are and how quickly things can happen on these job sites. So, by the way, guys, 5 more minutes. I gotta give it 5 more minutes, and then we gotta wrap this up because I have to get up tomorrow at a reasonable hour. So, you know, little Skechers, I agree with you. I should do a video on reacting to equipment fails. I have to do some homework on how that will work from a posting standpoint because I'll be using other people's content, so I probably won't be able to monetize it, which I'm not opposed to. I just have to make sure I'm not going to get myself into trouble by using their footage. But yeah, I'm totally down for that. That'd be a good time. So, anybody else got any questions for me this evening? Because we've had a good night. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was supposed to wrap up early, and here we are. It's 10:40 at night. Like, you guys have kept me up late yet again. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to add because I'm spent. Like, you guys have, I'm out. You guys have exhausted me. Oh, Sean, 100%. Underground work is super dangerous. Prime example, I've got a video that's going to be dropping here within the next probably 3 weeks or so. When I was out with Fetchco, they were 22 foot deep with stacked trench boxes. You want to talk about an operator. Their mainline digger was running a Cat 352, which is one of the next gen hose. It was a massive excavator, and he had overhead power lines within about 15 feet of him. He had a tree in the front yard of a house that wouldn't let him swing. He was crossing the gas lead going into the house. And on top of that, there was bad material down in the bottom of the hole, and there was water coming in, so he had to be super conscious of his pipe layer. Like, pipe work is legit. You got to be on your game all the time. And that's why, generally speaking, your mainline diggers on pipe jobs are the best operators in the company. So, hey, Sean, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate it. We'll catch you next week when we do this again. Aaron, I love dirt work, man. I love it. It's in your blood. We all know that this gets into your blood and you can't get out of this industry. Once you get sucked in, it's like a black hole and you can't escape the grasp of dirt work. So, I could live stream it. That's a good point, Sketchers. You know what? I have a notepad. I bring my notepad every time. I'm going to write that down. We may do that here sometime soon. Live stream. Equipment fails. That's a good point. You're on to something, buddy. Which, by the way, you're somewhat local, right? You're over in Shelby Township area? I may hit you up to see if you want a job here in the somewhat near future. We'll see what happens. We may need an off-road truck driver if you're interested. No promises, but we'll see. Camille, what's the oldest machine? Honestly, I haven't operated that many old machines. Most of the companies I worked for were really production related, and so we had generally pretty updated equipment. I don't know. I can't really say that I've operated much over like 6, 7, I don't know, 10-ish years old. So, that's probably the oldest I've ran. Oh, no joke, Aaron. Okay, so yeah, you're in my old stomping grounds. I was from Austin. So where are you at in Dallas? So I had a buddy that his grandfather lived in, where was that? Grapevine? I don't remember if it was Grapevine or where. He was up in that area. I don't know, Camille. Backhoes are, I wouldn't say that they're not flexible enough. They're more flexible than some of the other machines. The problem is they're not good at any of the things that they're supposed to be decent at. A loader will outperform a backhoe all day long, or a small CTL will outperform a backhoe all day long. Likewise, a small or a mid-sized mini excavator will outperform a backhoe. But you can't drive either one of those to the job site if you're 10 miles down the road. You've also got the ability to do both of the things with one machine instead of hauling two machines. So anyway, I don't know. I hate backhoes though. I'm not a fan. So, dang, how far are you from Oklahoma then, Aaron? You're not that far from Oklahoma if you're an hour north of Dallas. Dang. I think it's time, guys. Like, legit, I'm looking at myself on the screen here, and I'm already, like, kicked back in my chair, checked out for the evening. Do you guys have anything else that you want to ask tonight? Because I'm fairly confident we're going to call it tonight. I am exhausted. It's been a long week. I'm tired. And I'm ready for bed. So, last questions. Go. 3 hours. Ooh. That shocks me that you're still 3 hours away from Oklahoma, being an hour north of Dallas. Dang. But then again, I still forget how big Texas is. It's unreal. Oh, Sean, that would legit be like a blast to run. I've always wanted to run one of the old cable machines because, like, you're talking real old school operator at that point where a dozer had 14 pedals and 16 levers and you had to know which one did what. Like, that would be legit. That would be fun. So, Ryan, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate it, guys. So, Aaron, I appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. I'm tired. It's time to go to bed. You guys all need to go to bed. Like, I'm acting like I'm an old man here. It's 11 o'clock, guys. It's 11 o'clock. Oh, Stante? Is that what you're talking about, Skechers? Stante, I've responded. Do it big. I don't know who you're talking about, little Skechers. Stante. It's got to be Stante. Satine. Oh. I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about, little Skechers. You got me confused there. Yeah, Ryan, absolutely keep me updated on your job situation, brother. I am curious who you end up working for. If you end up working for Ranger, tell Orlando I said hi, and see if he'll let me come film if I swing down that way in the summer. I'd love to come out to a couple of their job sites, because like I said, they run some big iron on those. 385 D11s, shitload of off-road, like the 740 haul trucks. They've got scrapers. They got track loaders. So, all right, guys. The Italian flag. Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about, little Skechers. And I cannot freaking, you and me both, I cannot remember the name of that contractor. They got that 385. Was it 385 or a 375 they were running out here? Yeah. I cannot remember the name of that contractor. They were pretty nice guys. And yes, Camille, I am flipping exhausted. It has been a long week of a lot of fookery, for lack of a better term. So, but yeah, little Skechers, you got to show up on the job and tell them that Brian, the Diesel and Iron YouTube guy, says hi, because I'm sure they will not remember me at all. That being said, you see that last little bit right there? This is it. This right here is it. Oh, Ryan, it just occurs to me. Sorry, we're into like I don't give an F mode right now. I'm just gonna have one-on-one personal conversations on the live stream. Ryan, so Florence, if you look at Florence, 195 goes around Florence now. That was the job I worked on with Ranger. We bypassed the town of Florence with 195 up there. If you go on my Instagram, all of the pictures with the D11, the 385, me running the quarry trucks and the off-road trucks, that was off of that job. We did blasting on that. Like, that was an awesome, awesome job site. But we totally bypassed the town of Florence, and that was with Ranger. Ranger also did Circuit of the Americas. So that was another sweet job they were doing the year I hired in with them. So anyway, and little Skechers, that is Stante. B&V is Stante. Stante, Stante. And they have a 385. That's a big hoe. So, Camille, 100%. I'm out. I'm out. You guys have a lovely evening, okay? Have a lovely evening. We'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out. You guys have a good night. As always, when's the next YouTube video? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Camille. Every week, Monday is always going to be my Down and Dirty, which is kind of the like training oriented videos, and then Tuesday and Wednesday are vlogs or whatever else I've got. So tomorrow will be the next video, and it's a Down and Dirty, and I think I'll tell you right now, and then I'm logging off, and I'm going to keep the chat live. That's what I was about to say. I'll keep the chat live for 5 or 10 minutes so you guys can chat if you want to, but then I'm getting off. So, where is it? Calendar. Where is my calendar? Damn it, there it is. Tomorrow is... How long does it take to learn equipment? So that's what you can look forward to tomorrow. So thanks for hanging out, guys. I appreciate the support. I'll leave the chat up for you. Good night.